Chapter 327. According to the clan's historical records, this kind of cultivation technique only existed in ancient times. And the beauty in front of him actually knew how to do it. Just who was she? Chinya twisted open the bottle cap, and immediately, a burst of fragrance floated out. The corner of Chubai's mouth twitched violently. Isn't this the smell of bejeweled jade immortal nectar? Although he had only drunk a small bottle before, the taste was still fresh in his memory. Dong Huangli took a look at the small bottle that was below the stage, then took a look at the mineral water bottle that was in Chinya's hand. What was even more ferocious was that Dong Huangli held onto the mineral water bottle and started drinking madly. Half of a bottle of jadeite immortal dew was gone in an instant. Chu Bai felt his heart ache when he saw this. The amount that I drank at that time should be around the size of a bottle cap, right? Aunt Qing, this water is very tasty. It's almost the same as the water that Ali's house has. You should drink some too. Dong Huangli passed the water over. Good things should naturally be shared. Qing Yutong was also not polite, and immediately picked up the cup and started drinking. Not bad, very sweet. Looking at the empty bottle, Chu Bai was stupefied. This was too savage. Too savage. However, Chinya took out another bottle of water and placed it on the table, then said with a smile, "This water is very effective in quenching thirst." Oh my God! They actually used the luminous jade immortal dew to quench their thirst. Detoxify the spiciness. Prodigal. What a prodigal. Unforgivable. Uncle, do you want a cup? Dong Huangli asked with a smile on her face. Seeing that her uncle was embarrassed, Dong Huangli poured a cup of wine and passed it to Chu Bai. Dong Huangli even spilled a lot of wine, causing Chu Bai to feel like crying. Thank you, Ali. Chu Bai held the paper cup in his hand as if he had received a treasure. There's no need to thank me, Dong Huangli said with a sweet smile. It has been a long time since I drank the water that I drank at home. Chu Bai looked at the bejeweled jade immortal nectar in his hand, not daring to take a bite. Instead, he stuck out his tongue and licked it. It was still the same feeling, just like first love. He actually used a paper cup to contain it. What a waste of a heavenly treasure. He even spilled so much of it. It was comparable to an auction item. With the bejeweled jade immortal nectar that was able to alleviate the spiciness, Qing Yutong and Dong Huangli began tearing the marinated duck with soy sauce with their hands. Sis, make more in the future. It's really good. Chinya smiled and said, all right, next time, I will get a big bucket to collect the water. Chu Bai, who was at the back, immediately spurted out his drink. Using a bucket to catch the water. Can you guys take into consideration the feelings of a little loser like me? It was delicious. Everyone present revealed greedy gazes as they stared at the small bottle in the middle. They had no idea that these people were drinking the jadeite immortal dew like water, and it was a bottle of jadeite immortal dew. In the future, he would have to switch to barrels. Meanwhile, Chinya straightforwardly took out all of them. The speed at which the little fellow drank water was rather fast. 3 bottles of Nongfu Mountain Spring version of jadeite jade immortal nectar were placed on the table. Behind him, Chu Bai was already numb. This woman was too mysterious. No, they were all very mysterious. The starting price of the Jasper Immortal Dew is 1 spirit stone, the auctioneer shouted. Hearing this rule, everyone was confused. They didn't expect that this auction would be converted into spirit stones. A spirit stone was worth around 1 million. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was just a worthless stone. However, it was of great help to cultivators. Yi Shao smiled and said, I will convert these spirit stones into money and donate them. Chu He felt that Yi Zhao's goal was very unclear. Spirit stones were rare. Although there was a price, very few people sold them. After all, they were cultivation items. Could it be that Yi Shao wanted a large number of spirit stones? 10. Wang Debao was the first to bid. As expected of a nouveau riche, he immediately bid 10 spirit stones. In actuality, what Wang Debao was thinking right now was that after my wife drank the jadeite immortal dew, she would become even more beautiful, and then, that feeling would definitely be able to soar. How could Bai Zixin not know what her husband was thinking? However, she didn't say anything and just watched quietly. Everyone present sighed. This Wang Debao is so shameless, he actually raised the price to 10 spirit stones in one go. Although I can exchange it for 10 million spirit stones, if I were to use 10 million spirit stones to buy spirit stones, how long would that take? The wives of the various family masters started acting coquettishly and gave out all kinds of tempting conditions. As long as they could obtain the jadeite immortal dew, they would do whatever they wanted. Hearing their wives giving out such conditions, the various family masters were all filled with adrenaline. 20. Xiao Yi shouted faintly. Xiao Yi wanted to bid for the bottle of jadeite immortal dew and give it to Shu Nan. During this period of time, Shu Nan had been working very hard, running all over the place for Xiao Yi, and even being willing to die for Xiao Yi. How could Xiao Yi not take good care of his beloved wife? This bottle of jadeite immortal dew naturally has to be bid for Shu Nan. Gui Chengren was peeling peanuts while reading a novel earnestly. He said to Tang Wushuang, who didn't dare to bid, "Wushuang, this bottle of jadeite immortal dew will be very useful to you. It will be the icing on the cake." Icing on the cake? Become even more like a woman. Tang Wushuang gasped for air. Becoming a woman is something that will happen sooner or later. Then, even if I have to become a woman, I have to become a beautiful woman. 25. Tang Wushuang shouted out in a low voice. Xiao Yi looked towards Tang Wushuang, thinking that Tang Wushuang was bickering with him. Just like that, the price rose to 25 spirit stones, and a few family masters wanted to retreat. After all, 25 spirit stones was almost half of their family's wealth. For a bottle of water that could make a woman beautiful, the various family masters felt that the price-performance ratio was not high. However, this also made the wives beside them very unhappy. If I don't get this bottle of water, don't expect me to drink water for you in the future. 50. Wang Debao shouted out in a rich and imposing manner. These 50 spirit stones were already the sum of the family's wealth. Everyone felt that this Bai family was indeed formidable to have collected so many spirit stones. Just as Xiao Yi was about to increase the price, Shu Nan, who was beside him, hurriedly stopped him. "Brother Xiao, don't increase the price. We are currently developing, and spirit stones have a lot of uses. Indeed, for example, gifting a piece of spirit stone to another family, that would be a huge debt of gratitude. Shu Nan, you have helped me so much, it's just a few spirit stones. I, Xiao Yi, can still afford it." After finished speaking, Xiao Yi shouted out loudly, 55 spirit stones. Shu Nan was very touched, and she lightly leaned onto her husband's side. Everyone felt that the three families were going to fight against each other, and it was better for them to not participate in it. 60 spirit stones. Chen Xuanzong suddenly shouted out. As for why he increased the price, it was because Xiao Yi shouted out. As long as Xiao Yi was in pain, paying a bit of spirit stones was nothing. However, when Chen Xuanzong returned this time, he didn't bring a lot of spirit stones with him. Qin Yutong raised her head and drank another cup of spirit stones. "I feel like I'm going to get drunk." Qin Yutong was a bit muddle-headed as she held onto her chin and said foolishly. Dong Huang Li had already fallen asleep while lying on Qin Ya's bosom. Dong Huang Li's face was bright red, and she looked very cute. From time to time, Dong Huang Li would purse her lips. The effect of Voidless Realm spring water was indeed not bad, but if one were to drink too much of it, it would make one feel drunk. If one were to drink a cup of this spring water every day, one would be completely satisfied. As for Qin Yutong and Dong Huang Li, for the sake of getting rid of the spiciness, they drank 2 bottles each. Chu Bai, who was at the back, had unknowingly finished drinking the spring water as well. Right now, he was secretly licking the cup, wanting to drink every single drop of the spring water. Chapter 328. 65. Wang Debao increased the bid again. Everyone was astonished. He was indeed a prodigal. Xiao Yi was about to bid again. This time, Shu Nan really stopped him. "Brother Xiao, I know your intentions, but I can't increase it anymore. It's not worth it." "For you, everything is worth it," Xiao Yi said affectionately. "Brother Xiao, have you forgotten about Sister Nangong? The Xiao family is currently in a difficult time. Don't pay the price for these useless things." Shunan had no choice but to say Nangong Sini. Only then would Xiao Yi let go. Thinking about the frozen Nangong Sini in the basement, Xiao Yi slowly put down his hand and a desolate expression appeared on his face. Brother Xiao, big sister Nangong also hopes that you can make the Xiao family flourish. Xiao Yi took a deep breath. I understand. Thank you, Shunan. Shunan smiled. Xiao Yi had changed a lot. He wasn't as impulsive as before. He had learned to endure. 70. Tang Wushuang increased the price once again. When Qin Xuanzong saw that Xiao Yi wasn't going to add on anymore, he didn't add on anymore. Right now, it was Wang Debao versus Tang Wushuang. Prodigal versus Soldier King. No, it was a prodigal against a soldier king who was about to change. Wang Debao cast a glance at Tang Wushuang who was not far away, then shouted out coldly, 100. Tang Wushuang's expression congealed. This was already a third of Tang Clan's spirit stones. 101. A moaning sound could be heard coming from the other side, and Qin Yutong shouted out drunkenly. Qin Ya pinched her little sister. What are you randomly shouting for? Do you even have spirit stones? Qin Yutong stuck out her tongue. What I said just now was just drunken talk. It doesn't count. 102. Song Huang shouted. When Holy Dr. Song took action, everyone was amazed. As expected of Holy Dr. Song, he took out hundreds of spirit stones. Song Huang just wanted to teach this girl who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. Besides, he had only added one, so the Tang family and the Bai family wouldn't have to change their names, right? Wang Debao was about to shout when Bai Zixin, who was beside him, said softly, "It's done." Wang Debao was a good boy. He was a man who listened to his wife. Tang Wushuang was currently pondering. 100+ spirit stones is a bit too much, and I still need to use spirit stones for my cultivation. 102, going once. The auctioneer began the countdown. Song Huang's expression was a little strange. I only added one, and you guys stopped calling me. It seems like you guys are working together to screw me over. 102 going twice. 102 going thrice. Congratulations to Sacred Dr. Song for obtaining the Jasper Immortal Nectar. The audience applauded enthusiastically. Song Huang squeezed out a smile, stood up, and cupped his hands in front of his chest. 102 spirit stones. I've only collected 103 of them after so long. In an instant, there was only one left. It's all because of that Qin Yutong. This jinx. He had to make her pay. Especially now that she was showing a gloating smile, it was simply intolerable. Mommy Qin, Ali feels so hot. Dong Huang Li shouted out with her eyes closed. After taking a look at Qin Yutong who was at the side, Qin Yutong's forehead was also emitting fine beads of sweat. He drank too much. Qin Ya had no other choice but to take out the star-cleansing fan that Yi Hua had given her back then and lightly fan it. Feeling the refreshing breeze, Dong Huang Li gradually fell asleep again. Qin Yutong took out the golden fan that her brother-in-law gave her and immediately fanned herself. It's so hot. Fortunately, the power of the two fans was sealed by Yi Hua. If not, with Qin Yutong's hair, something bad would definitely happen. Qin Yutong, are you hiding something from me? Seeing that her little sister took out a fan for no reason, Qin Ya asked curiously. Qin Yutong pouted her mouth. Who doesn't have some skills? It seems like my little sister is hiding something very deeply. This is good as well, at least I don't have to worry about her. Chu Bai, who was at the back, didn't want to say anything anymore. We really can't afford to offend her. The auction was still continuing, and everyone's gaze moved towards the second auction item. When Qin Ya and Qin Yutong saw the second auction item, they couldn't help but look at the fan that was in their hands. Why is the auction item today almost the same as the one that we are using? The second auction item was also a fan. The old man could be heard saying slowly, "This fan's name is Ancient Comb, and it was personally made by Yi family head. The feathers are made from the wings of spirit beasts, and the skeleton is also made from the bones of spirit beasts. It has the effect of having a cool breeze caressing one's face, and it can also be used as a spirit artifact in battle. The starting price is 1 spirit stone." The two sisters took a look at their own fans, then let out a breath. then started fanning themselves again. Spirit beasts are nothing. I have seen ancient godly beasts in Voidless Realm back then, and these two fans are made from ancient beasts, and they are existences that are even more supreme than ancient godly beasts. Towards this kind of beautiful and spirit artifact fan, all of the family heads were quite fond of it, and they all fought to bid for it. However, to Bai family, this spirit artifact could only be considered as ordinary. After all, Bai family already had an ancient godly item, 9 Demons Punishing Tower. And Xiao Yi also had an ancient godly item, Xinyuan Sword, and thus, this spirit artifact was nothing to him. Thus, in the end, the spirit artifact was bought by a family head for 15 spirit stones. The auction was still continuing, just that, Qinya and Qin Yutong felt bored. Big sister, let's go back, I'm tired. Qin Yutong yawned. Qinya was also a bit sleepy. This auction is truly boring, I don't know what they are so excited about. Of course, other people would be excited. These spirit artifacts are all made of spiritual energy, and it is such a rare opportunity that only appears once a year. In order to increase their family's strength, all of the family heads were putting in quite a lot of effort. However, just as everyone was fighting over a spirit artifact, the space in front of them suddenly distorted. Everyone raised their head and looked at the space in confusion. Qinya and Qin Yutong looked at the space in front of them curiously, seemingly not intending to leave for the time being and take a look at the situation. When 3 figures walked out from the distorted space, all of the family heads were very puzzled. On the other hand, Yi Xiao and Chu He were startled as they hurriedly stood up, then cupped their hands and shouted, "Greetings to Voidless Realm's ambassador." The scene immediately became quiet. No one expected that someone from Voidless Realm would appear, and soon after, the two hurriedly cupped their hands and shouted, "Greetings to Voidless Realm's ambassador." Qinya was also very surprised. I didn't expect that someone from Voidless Realm would actually come over. I have met this person before. He seems to be someone who specializes in evaluating aristocratic families and families. Baiji had once met him, and at that time, I was also present at the scene. However, my position in Voidless Realm is only second to Yuenda and those old officials. The 3 people who were standing in the air were an old man and 2 young men. The old man who was standing in front had white hair and a beard, and was wearing a white robe. Although his eyes were squinted, they revealed a shrewd look. The 2 young men who were following behind the old man should be the guards. The 2 young men were wearing white armor, and they were coldly looking at everyone. As expected of Voidless Realm, even the way they appear is so arrogant, and that expression. When Yu Quan was looking at everyone to raise his prestige, he looked at someone who he shouldn't be looking at, and the walking stick in his hand almost fell onto the ground. That person actually dares to be the Empress's sister, and just now, I was already disrespectful. I actually used that kind of gaze to look at that person. My crime is unforgivable. Right now, I definitely have to go and pay my respects to the Empress and beg for her forgiveness. Qinya seemed to know what Yu Quan's intention was, and she hurriedly sent a voice transmission over. "Pretend that you don't know me, just do what you are supposed to do." Qinya didn't want to reveal her identity, mainly because she was afraid that they would try to curry favor with her father, and when the time comes, her father wouldn't even know that he was being sold. After receiving Qinya's voice transmission, Yu Quan could finally be at ease. Chapter 329. All the family heads exclaimed in admiration. What does Voidless Realm's people mean by appearing at this time? No matter what Voidless Realm means, being able to meet someone from Voidless Realm in this lifetime, I will have no more regrets. Even though he was just standing in the air, the aura he exuded was truly unstoppable. He was like a high and mighty god. Even Yi Xiao and Chu He had to treat him with respect. If Voidless Realm's Empress were to appear, what kind of scene would that be? What kind of glory would that be? What kind of breathtaking beauty would that be? If he could catch a glimpse of it, his life would be worth it. Perhaps, these people would never know that right now, the Empress was currently lying in Yi Hua's embrace, and Yi Hua's hands were very mischievously reaching into the Empress's pajamas. Even though she was sleeping, the Empress's beautiful face was still carrying a bit of redness. Xiao Yi and Bai Xin, who were present, seemed to know the main purpose of today's event. No wonder Yi Xiao took the initiative to invite them. So today was the day to announce the event. Yu Quan stood in the void and shouted, "By the order of Her Majesty the Empress, we will announce the winner of the 6th aristocratic family." The dignified melody made all the patriarchs present not dare to raise their heads to look at it. However, the thought of being able to witness the birth of the 6th aristocratic family excited everyone. This was a historic moment. Furthermore, the 6th aristocratic family was either the Xiao or the Bai family, and it felt like the Bai family had a higher chance of winning. Maybe a miracle would happen. Xiao Yi's personal strength was still very strong. Yi Xiao floated in front of Yu Quan and respectfully said, "Ambassador, why don't you sit down and drink some water first? The auction is about to end, and the wine has already been prepared for you." Of course, Yi Xiao wanted to curry favor with him in every possible way. If this ambassador could say a few good words in front of the Empress, it would be a great help to the Yi clan. Yu Quan felt that it was beneath him to drink the wine here, and he also wouldn't wait for the so-called auction to start. Voidless Realm's arrival. No matter what you open, you will have to stop. However, the situation today was different. The Empress's best friend was present. Perhaps she was here to participate in the auction. He had already been disrespectful just now. If he disturbed her mood again, wouldn't that be adding fuel to the fire? Yu Quan nodded. Then he would wait for the auction to end. Yi Xiao was delighted. It would be great if there was a chance to chat. When the time came, he would see what this ambassador needed and he would do his best. "Please follow me, ambassador," Yi Xiao said respectfully. "Just get me a seat over there," said Yu Quan lightly. Yi Xiao looked in the direction of Yu Quan's gaze and saw that he was standing beside the two women. What was going on? Although puzzled, Yi Xiao still hurriedly said, "Ambassador, that place is not suitable for people like you. The Empress' best friend is sitting there. If I sit in the seat you arranged for me, wouldn't that be disrespectful to her? Are you trying to kill me? Yi Xiao, since when do I need you to make decisions for me?" Yu Quan questioned coldly. Hearing those words, Yi Xiao's heart sank. He had no idea why the ambassador was so angry. He immediately replied, "I understand. I'll immediately make arrangements for you." Everyone could only see the two of them talking, but they didn't know the content of the conversation. However, they could tell from Yi Xiao's expression that he was terrified. Very quickly, the waiter finished arranging a table and placed it next to Qin Ya's table. Yu Quan landed on the other side and saw that his table was actually level with the Empress's best friend's table. He almost cursed out loud, "Idiot! Both of you are murderers who want to kill me." "You two, move the table back." The two guards at the back naturally recognized Qin Ya, and they almost kneeled down. Fortunately, they were stopped by Yu Quan. They immediately moved the table back a bit. At this moment, Yu Quan's heart calmed down. He slowly sat down, then waved his hand, indicating for the auction to continue. However, Yu Quan's action caused everyone present to be endlessly shocked. Why does even Voidless Realms people want to sit together with that beauty? Just who is that beauty? She really is an enigma. Furthermore, looking at the attitude of that Voidless Realms people, they seem to be very respectful towards her. This is too mystical. Right now, Song Huang was a bit dazed. Why did this Voidless Realms ambassador choose to sit together with them? Is he expressing his position? Or is this Voidless Realm trying to express their position? A lot of people thought about it carefully. Indeed, that's the case. Could it be that this woman is from Voidless Realm? Chen Xuanzong was also very surprised. "I only heard about Voidless Realm recently, and they seem to be very strong. I thought that I should be able to cultivate to Demon Emperor, but I didn't expect that the original world actually changed so much." Xiao Yi and Xu Nin fell into contemplation. The amount of information is too big. Bai Xin was the same as well. This woman doesn't seem to be simple. On the rostrum, Yi Xiao's expression wasn't very good. After all, he had just been reprimanded by Yu Quan, which gave him a bad impression. However, he was reprimanded for no rhyme or reason. "Brother Yi, what's going on? This Voidless Realms ambassador's intentions are very strange. Chu, he asked in a low voice. This voidless realm's attitude is too strange. Yi Fan shook his head, expressing that he doesn't know either. Could it be that this old man has taken a fancy to those two women and wants to bring them back to voidless realm? Another wicked commoner wants to harm this old man. Looking at Donghuang Li, who was in Qin Ya's embrace, Yu Quan was startled. So the little highness is here too. From the looks of it, the Empress and this bestie of hers have already addressed each other as sisters. If not, why would the Empress be at ease and let her take care of the little highness? Fortunately, I was scanning the entire venue just now. If I didn't scan the entire venue and overlooked the little highness, that would be bad. That would be a great crime of disrespect. Chu Bai sat upright at the side, not daring to move in the slightest bit. Never in his dreams did he expect that a big shot from Voidless Realm would be sitting beside him, causing him to feel a bit dizzy. The auction gradually came to an end, and Bai Zixin was clearly a bit nervous. Whether or not Bai Zixin will be able to become an aristocratic family will depend on tonight. Tonight will be the day that Bai family's fate will be decided. Bai Zixin was an ambitious woman, and her goal was not just to become an aristocratic family. Her goal was to become a big shot. Right now, one of the three big shots is missing, so shouldn't there be an aristocratic family that can replace the three big shots? Restore the power of the three big shots? Whether or not the power of the three big shots will be restored, that will depend on Yihua. Perhaps, one day when Yihua is in a good mood, the power of the three big shots will be restored. If one day when Yihua is in a bad mood, the power of the three big shots will be restored. With Voidless Realm's ambassador present at the auction, the family heads were clearly excited. The last few auction items all exceeded the original price. Yi Shao stood up and said with a smile, "Tonight's auction will end here. Now, let's invite Voidless Realm's ambassador to announce the North's sixth aristocratic family." Yu Quan didn't walk to the center of the stage and directly stood up. If someone were to observe carefully, Yu Quan would be standing behind Qin Ya. However, Chu Bai, who was at the side, was very nervous and neglected this point. Perhaps because of the distance or the angle, other people couldn't see Yi Shao clearly, and thus, no one cared about Yi Shao. Chapter 330. The whole audience was in an uproar. The Shao family actually announced their withdrawal at this time. Did he know that he wouldn't be chosen, so he took the initiative to give up to save face, or did he have other motives? The crowd couldn't see through this act tough King Xiao. This wasn't the act tough King Xiao style. Thinking back to the time when he snatched the Shenyuan sword, he was so ruthless that anyone who stood in his way would die. Who would have thought that after the fusion, Xiao Yi would become a completely different person? However, this Xiao Yi was even more terrifying. Even if a lion was injured, it was still a lion. Once it recovered, it would still be an overlord. Bai Zixin was also very puzzled. Although the overall strength of the Xiao clan was not as strong as the Bai clan, however, Xiao Yi's own strength was quite strong, so there was still a chance that he would be chosen. Yet he gave up just like that. There was definitely a conspiracy behind this. Bai Zixin furrowed her eyebrows. She had a bad feeling about this. "Honey, Xiao Yi's sudden withdrawal is very suspicious," Wang Debao whispered. Bai Zixin sighed heavily. "Yeah, he's different from the Xiao Yi I know. He has become more stable and powerful." It seemed like Bai Zixin had to re-evaluate Xiao Yi. But now, she was calm. She had obtained the position of an aristocratic family. Qin Ya and Qin Yutong were also very puzzled. Why did this Xiao Yi suddenly quit? This is a very good opportunity, and right now, Yu Quan still hasn't set out his name, but it is still a situation of 50-50. Even if I fail this time, I can still fight for it in the future. However, Qin Ya still didn't know that it was Yi Hua who gave the order. Would Xiao Yi dare to disobey? Yu Quan looked at Xiao Yi and asked in a deep voice, "Xiao Yi, you'd better think it through. If you voluntarily withdraw, you won't have the right to be selected again in the future." "Ambassador, I have made up my mind." Xiao Yi's words were very firm. Everyone felt that Xiao Yi had thought about this for a long time, and it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was Yu Quan's first time encountering someone who backed out. This choice was admirable. After all, once one became the head of an aristocratic family, they would be under only one person. Who wouldn't like to stand in the position of an aristocratic family? Gui Qingren, who was sitting beside Tang Wushuang, said indifferently, "Damn it, I finished reading it again. This damned author actually dares to bait my appetite." "Teacher, disciple has caught it for you," Tang Wushuang said respectfully. Gui Qingren nodded his head. "Break their legs after capturing them, lock them in a small black room, and feed them one meal a day." "All right." After keeping his phone, Gui Qingren looked towards Voidless Realm's Yuquan and asked, "Is that person from Voidless Realm?" "That's right, Master." Tang Wushuang's gaze was filled with envy. "If I also have an ancient godly item, I can also go and fight for it." Gui Qingren paused and asked, "That Xiao Yi just said that he quit?" Tang Wushuang was very puzzled. "Since you don't plan to fight for it anymore, why didn't you give me the Xian Yuan sword back then? After all, this is the ticket for me to enter the aristocratic family." "Do you want to make a bet with the Bai family?" Gui Qingren put away his frivolous expression and asked seriously. Tang Wushuang was stupefied for a moment, but soon after, his eyes lit up. "Could it be that Master is planning to do that? Your disciple is willing to bet on it." Gui Qingren smiled and patted on Tang Wushuang's shoulder. The dagger that had pierced Xiao Yi back then appeared. "Master, didn't you say that this ancient godly item is borrowed?" Tang Wushuang exclaimed in admiration. Gui Qingren chuckled. "Silly disciple, whose ancient divine instrument would be casually borrowed? That's true, ancient godly items are viewed as treasures by aristocratic families. How can it be possible for them to casually borrow it? However, Master actually possesses an ancient godly item. Why didn't he establish his own family? Furthermore, with Master's strength, wouldn't it be easy for him to become an aristocratic family? Why did he help me? Strange, this is too strange. Wushuang, Master can only help you to this extent, the rest is up to you." Gui Qingren's gaze was deep. Only he himself knew what his motive was. Tang Wushuang took over the ancient godly item and said sincerely, "Disciple will never forget Master's kindness towards disciple." "Very good, I hope that you will remember what you said in the future." "Yes." Right now, Tang Wushuang was indeed very grateful to Master. "If not for Master, I would have already lost my fighting spirit and muddle-headedly lived the rest of my life. Right now, not only did Master teach me the technique, Master even gave me the right to fight for the Bai family. Master's kindness is too big." "But Master, is it too urgent to say it now?" Tang Wushuang was a bit worried. After all, the reason why Voidless Realm came over today was to announce the result of the competition. Gui Qingren unlocked his phone and began searching for other novels on QQ. As long as there is an ancient godly item, before the aristocratic family is selected, anyone can join the competition. Hearing what Master said, Tang Wushuang felt a lot more at ease. My Tang family will definitely rise up in my hands. After hearing Xiao Yi's affirmation, Yuquan let out a breath of relief and said, "Since Xiao family has withdrawn from the competition, then the sixth aristocratic family in the north will be." Right now, before Yuquan could finish speaking, a voice suddenly rang out. "My Tang family wants to join the aristocratic family selection." Yuquan wrinkled his brows and looked towards Tang Wushuang, who stood up. At this moment, Qingya and Qing Yutong also looked towards Tang Wushuang. This situation changed too quickly. Xiao Yi withdrew from the competition, and Tang family, who doesn't have an ancient godly item, actually dares to say such a thing. If it was in the past, Qingya might have been shocked. After all, these were all big families and aristocratic families. However, it was different now. This was all thanks to Yi Hua. If not for Yi Hua's appearance, so many things wouldn't have happened to Qingya, and she wouldn't even be able to step into the circle of aristocratic families. Thinking about it, there are still many changes. Yi Xiao and Chu He, who were on the rostrum, stood up at the same time. Both of them were shocked by this sudden turn of events. The one who was even more shocked was Bai Cixin. Just as I was about to obtain the position of an aristocratic family master, another variable actually appeared. Xiao Yi also looked towards Tang Wushuang in disbelief. Did this guy go crazy from thinking about becoming an aristocratic family? He actually dares to say such a thing without an ancient godly item. Even without me making a move, Voidless Realms people will naturally get rid of Tang Wushuang. Meanwhile, all of the family masters who were present were also shocked. This Tang Wushuang is really courting death. To actually dare to boast in front of Voidless Realms people, doesn't he know that this is a crime that will result in the extermination of one's family? Wang Debao felt that he was going to explode from anger. It wasn't easy for me to get my hands on an ancient godly item, and it wasn't easy for me to wait until this moment. Wang Debao immediately jumped up and shouted out towards Tang Wushuang, "Tang Wushuang, you idiot, do you even have an ancient godly item? Do you know the consequences of deceiving Voidless Realm?" Tang Wushuang looked towards Wang Debao coldly. "When did a southerner have the right to butt into my north's big matter?" "You!" Wang Debao was actually speechless. If this Tang Wushuang dares to speak such arrogant words, then what awaits us is Voidless Realm's destruction. After all, this is Voidless Realm's rule. "Tang Wushuang, do you know?" Before Yu Quan could finish speaking, Tang Wushuang knelt on the ground and held onto the ancient godly item with both of his hands. The aura of an ancient godly item swept out, causing everyone present to be dumbstruck. When did this Tang Wushuang get an ancient godly item? Bai Cixin clenched her fist tightly, and when Xiao Yi saw that dagger, faint killing intent emitted out from his entire body. Chen Xuanzong sized up the relationship between these people. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. Right now, Song Huang no longer had the mood to look at these things. Yu Quan waved his hand, and the ancient godly item in Tang Wushuang's hands slowly floated over. However, when he saw the dagger, Yu Quan's gaze focused. This is actually the ancient godly item that was lost 100 years ago, Piercing Tomb. Chapter 331. Towards this sudden change, all of the family heads remained silent. However, to be able to see the appearance of an ancient godly item, they were still very excited. Tonight, not only did they see Voidless Realms people, they were also fortunate enough to see an ancient godly item. This trip was not made in vain. Right now, even Yi Xiao and Chu He revealed a shocked expression. When did this Tang Wushuang get his hands on an ancient godly item? Furthermore, he chose to participate in the election at this time. Isn't this slapping Bai family's face? Originally, the position of an aristocratic family was already in Bai family's pocket, but in just a second, it was destroyed by Tang family. Bai Cixin reckoned that he might even have the heart to kill someone. Yu Quan looked at the ancient godly item in his hand and his expression became gloomy. This ancient godly item can be counted as the lost evidence, but over 100 years had passed since then, who knows how many times it had changed hands. After all, from a fair point of view, this was something that other people obtained with great difficulty, and they can't be stripped of their qualifications just because of something that happened 100 years ago. "Old Chu, don't you feel that this dagger looks very familiar?" Yi Zhao's expression was gloomy as he stared fixedly at the dagger in Yu Quan's hand. Chu He had the same feeling as well. Hearing what Yi Xiao said, Chu He said gravely, "Could this be that dagger? If I didn't guess wrongly, this is Dongfang family's missing dagger, Piercing Tomb." Yi Xiao wrinkled his brows. Things have become strange. How did Tang family get Dongfang family's ancient godly item? Could Tang Wushuang be a descendant of Dongfang family? Chu He cried out in surprise. Yi Xiao shook his head, then looked at Gui Qingren who was beside Tang Wushuang. "I feel that the man wearing flowery shorts looks a bit like him." But back then, all of the males in Dongfang family were executed, even the infants were executed. Yi Xiao laughed lightly. "Did you see it?" Chu He's expression stiffened. The one who executed the assassination was Voidless Realms people, and only Voidless Realm would know whether or not the assassination was cleaned up. Furthermore, back then, losing Piercing Tomb is definitely Dongfang family's scheme. They want to regain their title, and they might even look for evidence. Framing an aristocratic family is also a huge crime. Hearing Yi Zhao's deduction, Chu He felt a sense of crisis. It seems like the appearance of this dagger is to deal with the 5 aristocratic families in the north. Right now, Bai Cixin was already unable to sit still anymore. Slowly, she stood up and said, "Respected Voidless Realms ambassador, isn't participating in the election against the rules?" The crowd whispered to each other after hearing this. The results were about to be announced, so suddenly interrupting seemed to be against the rules. However, there were no rules that said that this could not be done during the announcement of the results. In any case, Voidless Realm is the one who has the final say. After all, Voidless Realm is a big power. Everyone was waiting for Yu Quan's answer. The future of these two families was in the hands of this old man. With regards to Voidless Realm's internal affairs, Qinya didn't get involved. After all, it was Baiji's matter, and if she were to rashly get involved, Baiji might think too much into it. Family harmony was more important. Therefore, not speaking was the best outcome. Tang Wushuang, where did this ancient godly item come from? Yu Quan didn't directly tell Tang Wushuang the answer, and instead, he inquired about the origin of this ancient godly item. Tang Wushuang replied respectfully, replying to Ambassador, "I obtained this ancient godly item by chance from an unremarkable antique shop." An antique shop? All the patriarchs could no longer remain calm. Was there such a thing? This was the easiest way to obtain it in history. The patriarchs felt that they should go and try their luck. Perhaps they might be able to pick up some leftovers, and when the time comes, they would have a meteoric rise. Yu Quan let out a light sigh. "I can't make the decision for this kind of matter, and I still have to report it to the Empress." After keeping the tomb properly, Yu Quan said gravely, "This matter is of great importance. This ancient godly item will be temporarily kept for safekeeping, and the Empress will decide what to do with it." Tang Wushuang bowed down and shouted, "Thank you, Ambassador." "Thank you, Empress." Regarding handing over the ancient godly item to Voidless Realm for safekeeping, Tang Wushuang didn't have anything to worry about. After all, Voidless Realm wouldn't lose its prestige just because of an ancient godly item. "Ambassador!" Bai Cixin was in disbelief. She lost her composure and cried out in surprise. Yu Quan said faintly, "Bai Cixin, are you planning to openly go against Voidless Realm's rules?" The latter's body trembled, and a feeling of powerlessness emerged from the bottom of her feet. "I don't dare." Bai Cixin slowly spat out two words. However, only Wang Debao, who was at the side, knew that right now, his wife was already on the verge of going berserk. Towards a huge being like Voidless Realm, no one dared to go against it and could only listen to it unconditionally. Even the current Yi Xiao and Chu, he could only lower their heads and listen to it. Yu Quan had to go back and hold a meeting. After bidding farewell to Qinya, the three of them stepped into the void and disappeared. After Yu Quan left, everyone let out a sigh of relief. After all, with the people from Voidless Realm present, they felt a lot of pressure. However, the killing intent that was being emitted out from the people from Bai family was still present at the scene. From the looks of it, Bai family and Tang family are going to start a fight. Right now, Xiao Yi's entire body was relaxed, as if he had returned back to the state of being an immortal emperor. It seems like after my reincarnation, my state of mind was too impetuous. I no longer have that steadiness that I had back then. It might be a good thing for me to withdraw from the selection. Today's auction will end here. After finished speaking, Yi Xiao left with a heavy heart. The scandal that happened back then must not be exposed. Chu He understood this point as well. This Tang family must be eliminated. Meanwhile, Chen Xuanzong was preparing to pay a visit to Tang Wushuang. Song Huang stared at Qinya and Qin Yutong. "All of my spirit stones are gone. Even if the two of you want to sell yourself, you still have to return those spirit stones to me." However, when Song Huang looked at Chu Bai, who was standing behind Qinya, Song Huang felt that he should look for some helpers. Furthermore, the helpers should be the kind of helpers that could persuade Chu Bai to give up. Suddenly, a candidate appeared in his mind. Chu Bai should be willing to give him face, and he should be able to offer a high price. One woman was worth at least 50 spirit stones, two would be worth 100 spirit stones. He was about to break through, so he had to get it back. Thinking about it, he picked up his phone and made a call. After which, a look of joy appeared on his face. He didn't expect him to be in Yuan Linglong, just that he didn't appear. Song Huang hurriedly left to look for Song Huang. This person's name was Yi Tai, and he was Yi Zhao's eldest son. He was a playboy by nature, and he could not be without women. Even so, his strength was not to be underestimated. After all, he was the eldest son of the Yi family. Song Huang came to a resting room in Yuan Linglong's side hall and knocked on the door. "Come in." A man's low voice came from inside. Song Huang pushed open the door and entered the living room. There was no one in the living room, but there were sounds of moaning coming from the bedroom. Song Huang let out a breath, then sat on the sofa and silently waited. After quite a while, a tall and sturdy man who was wearing a nightgown walked out of the bedroom. The man's face was calm, and he didn't seem like the kind of person who indulged in debauchery. Song Huang had interacted with Yi Tai before. This Yi Tai was a person who was calm and reserved, but deep down he liked women. Those who didn't know would think that he was a young and promising son of an aristocratic family. Different from Chu Bai, Yi Tai would snatch whatever he liked without any bottom line. Chapter 332. Young Master Yi, it seems like you are still as majestic as ever. Song Huang was neither servile nor overbearing. After all, he was here to make a deal. Yi Tai smiled faintly and lit up his cigar. "Sacred Dr. Song, let's get back to the main topic. Are you telling the truth?" "Of course, it is a pity that young Master Yi did not go out to take a look." "Hee, a boring auction, what is there to see?" Yi Tai and his father came at the same time, and Yi Tai just casually grabbed a woman who looked good. Yi Xiao knew his son's character, which was why he told Chu He that his son only knew how to indulge in debauchery. Song Huang didn't waste any time and directly stated his price. "Young Master Yi, of course, I will not introduce a woman for nothing. 50 spirit stones for one woman." 50. Sacred Dr. Song sure is arrogant. Yi Tai was a bit dissatisfied and raised his voice slightly. Song Huang insisted on the price in his heart. "Young Master Yi will naturally understand after you take a look." However, there is a Chu Bai who is following beside them. Tu Bai? The man who likes to make others wear green hats? That's right, as long as you make Chu Bai back off, young Master Ye's luck will be boundless. Yi Tai laughed lightly. "This Chu Bai will naturally give me face, that's fine. I will go and take a look, Sacred Dr. Song, don't lie to me. Although you are famous, I am not that easy to fool." Of course, a trace of viciousness flashed past Song Huang's eyes. "I can bring back the dead with my left hand, and I can make people suffer with my right hand. Even your father has to be polite when he sees me." On the other side, Qin Ye carried Dong Huang Li, who was sleeping soundly and prepared to leave the auction. Qin Yutong, who was following beside Dong Huang Li, was dizzy. Chu Bai, who was at the back, wanted to go over and support Dong Huang Li, but he didn't dare to. His intuition told him that if he were to touch Dong Huang Li, he would definitely die. The few of them walked across the stone bridge, and the other patriarchs left one after another with joy in their eyes. They had seen the world tonight. "You can leave now," Qin Ye said faintly. This sentence was said to Chu Bai, who was behind her, but the latter was thinking about other things and didn't pay attention to it. Qin Yutong said dizzily, "Brat, you can leave now. If I continue to follow you, I will be finished." Chu Bai reacted quickly and opened his folding fan. After all, his chance had come. "Miss Qing, I am your little brother, so of course I have to follow my big brother's footsteps. Besides, this place is very far from the city, so let me send you off to ensure your safety. This is what a little brother should do," Chu Bai said politely as he waved his fan. His words were quite reasonable. The two sisters had sat in Song Huang's car, and right now, Song Huang definitely wouldn't be kind enough to send them back. Of course, Qin Ye was also able to instantly teleport back to Qin Ye's house. However, Qin Ye, who wanted to live an ordinary life, unless it was absolutely necessary, she didn't want to use her strength recklessly. Seeing that Qin Ye and Qin Yutong did not speak, that meant that they had tacitly agreed to it. Chu Bai said with a smile, "Two sirs, please wait for a moment, I will drive the car over right away." Looking at her little sister's dizzy appearance, Qin Ye shook her head. "If you continue to drink a little more, you will be prepared to be picked up by others." After a while, a Mercedes-Benz G-Class drove over, and Chu Bai opened the door like a gentleman. Qinya said thank you, then immediately got on the car. Chu Bai didn't expect that Qinya would be so courteous. Qinya sure is a gentle woman. This kind of woman is very rare in this world. According to the address provided by Qinya, Chu Bai set up the GPS and drove on the small road. Are you sure that this is the road? Qinya asked doubtfully. When they came over, this road was smooth and stable, but now, this road is very bad. Chu Bai was also very gloomy. The GPS arranged this way, it might be a shortcut. It was indeed a shortcut, but it had been a very long time since anyone took this shortcut. However, this also gave Yi Tai and Song Huang an opportunity. Suddenly, the car came to an abrupt stop. Qinya hurriedly stabilized the car, and Ali almost kowtowed to the ground. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong directly knocked into the front seat, and right now, she was rubbing her head and preparing to flip out. This driver's license must have been picked up from the ground, right? What are you braking for? Qinya asked gravely. Chu Bai pointed to the front of the car and said, there are two people blocking the road in front. Qinya and Qin Yutong took a look, and indeed, there were two people blocking the road, and one of them was even Song Huang. Big sister, there is trouble. Qin Yutong shook her head. Qinya sighed. This Song Huang is indeed not a good person. Now that he is blocking the road, it can be well imagined. The three got off the car. Song Huang said to Yi Tai, who was beside him, young Master Yi, is it worth it? Yi Tai stared fixedly at Qinya and Qin Yutong. I didn't expect that there would be such beautiful women in this world. If I had them, what would other women do for me? They would all just serve as foils. It's worth it. Yi Tai's tone was filled with excitement, and his gaze was flickering with greed. I have to get these two women. In the future, I don't have to look for other women at all. Chu Bai opened his folding fan and said with a smile, and here I was wondering who it was, Yi Tai, Song Huang. Young Master Chu, it has been a few years since we last met, and you are still as elegant as ever. Yi Tai greeted with a smile as well. However, Qinya felt that the two of them did not have good intentions, and she even felt that this Chu Bai was in cahoots with them, because he was the one who drove the car here. Chu Bai had a calm expression on his face. Young Master Yi, why did you suddenly change to blocking a robbery? Furthermore, you even teamed up with Sage Doctor, TSK. Yi Tai stretched out his hand and touched his forehead. What's so good about hanging out in a bar? With the two women behind you, in the future, I will become an otaku. Hearing what Yi Tai said, Qinya and Qin Yutong's beautiful eyes froze. Chu Bai did not cower in the slightest. Young Master Yi, this is a noble wish of yours. I advise you to go home and wash up, don't embarrass yourself. Chu Bai, if you leave right now, we will treat it as if nothing happened. How about it? I will also give you a big gift. Chu Bai's expression slightly changed. Seems like they came here today with the intention to cause trouble. However, this is good as well. It will give me the chance to be a hero and save the two beauties. Yi Tai, what kind of person do you think I, Chu Bai, am? I will say it here today, if you want to touch them, you have to ask me first. Chu Bai closed his folding fan and said those bold words. He thought to himself that the two beauties behind him would definitely be touched. However, Qinya and Qin Yutong both treated Chu Bai as a suspect, and they were not touched at all. Right now, Song Huang only wanted to get back his spirit stones, and he did not care about anything else. Compared to beauties, Song Huang cared more about strength. Yi Tai snorted coldly. Chu Bai, are you trying to ruin the relationship between the Yi and Chu families? Yi Tai, to think that you would dare to forcefully kidnap women. If it wasn't for your father, you would have been king executed long ago. Yi Tai let out a heavy sigh. Since young Master Chu is not willing to let me, then I can only let you die here. You dare to kill me? Chu Bai was a little surprised. I didn't expect that this Yi Tai would actually be so ruthless for the sake of beauties. Song Huang, who was at the side, was also a little stupefied. Killing the son of an aristocratic family, if others were to find out about this, I would definitely be done for. Yi Tai clenched both of his fists tightly, and a dense amount of spiritual energy emerged from his body. With a leap, he fiercely attacked towards Chu Bai's head. Chapter 333. Chu Bai was also shocked. He didn't expect Yi Tai to be so freakish. Big sister, they don't seem to be acting right? Qing Yutong said in a low voice. Qing Yan nodded her head. Indeed, it doesn't look like it. Chu Bai shouted to the people behind him, "All of you, leave this place quickly." After he finished speaking, a powerful spiritual energy surged out from his fist. His fist gave off a white glow as it clashed with Yi Tai. Bang! A wave of air spread out, and all the windows of the Mercedes-Benz G-Class were shattered. Song Huang, what are you standing there for? Come and help. Yi Tai shouted at Song Huang. The strength of this Chu Bai was extraordinary. Yi Tai and Song Huang were evenly matched. But with Song Huang's help, they would be able to suppress Chu Bai. Song Huang couldn't make up his mind. If he were to help Yi Fu Tian, the consequences would be unimaginable. He wouldn't be able to bear the crime of killing a descendant of an aristocratic family. Song Huang, you are also an accomplice now. Yi Tai turned around and shouted angrily. This saint doctor was as timid as a mouse. Song Huang cursed them for being shameless. They were all shameless people, and they were willing to risk everything for the sake of spirit stones. Chu Bai protected Qingya and Qing Yutong. This is the time for me to act cool. Miss Qing, don't worry. As long as I, Chu Bai, am here, they won't be able to harm a single hair on your head. After saying that, he shot out, thinking that his back view would definitely be very charming, and they would probably be stunned by it. Qing Yutong let out a sigh. This Chu Bai can't win against him, yet he is still sending himself to death. He is just doing this out of goodwill. Qingya said faintly. Chu Bai had to deal with two of them by himself. The disadvantage was very clear, and wounds instantly appeared on his body. This Yi Tai came in the open, and this Song Huang actually dared to use poison needles. He was simply shameless. Chu Bai, if you end your own life, I will give you an intact corpse. Yi Tai shouted arrogantly. They had already fought to this extent, so he could only kill. Chu Bai angrily shouted, as long as I, Chu Bai, am here, the two of you can forget about hurting the two Miss Qing. Then I'll let you be a playboy. Yi Tai shouted coldly. He clenched his fists together and shouted, sealing fist. Meanwhile, Song Huang also appeared behind Chu Bai at the same time, and he shouted in an eerie voice, soul-chilling ice needle. Facing a pincer attack from the front and back, Chu Bai frowned. He used a strange movement technique to escape, but in the end, he was still too slow and was hit by their moves. Chu Bai spat out a mouthful of blood. The spiritual energy in his body had been temporarily sealed by that punch, and the soul-freezing chill was eroding his internal organs. He was going to lose his life on the spot today. There are still many young women waiting for me to rescue. However, even if he had to die, he had to put on an act. At the very least, he had to leave an indelible impression in the heart of the beauty. I'll stall for time. You guys leave quickly. Chu Bai stood in front of the two women, slightly bowing his body. His suit was in tatters, and blood kept gushing out of his mouth. Without waiting for Qingya to reply, Yi Tai and Song Huang walked over slowly. Both of them had different expressions on their faces. Yi Tai had an excited look on his face, while Song Huang had an anxious look on his face. Chu Bai, why are you doing this? Let's mind our own business. Is it worth it for two women? Yi Tai's words were full of mockery. However, when he thought about how he would be able to enjoy these two beauties later, his heart started to beat wildly. Chu Bai spat out a mouthful of bloody phlegm and coldly said, "You dare to kill me for them, then I dare to die to protect them." Yi Tai suddenly laughed maniacally. I didn't expect that Chu family's eldest young master was such a righteous young hero. I admire you. Seeing that the two women behind him did not move, Chu Bai turned his head around and shouted out gravely, "What are you two still standing there for? Quickly run." They won't be able to run away. Even if you die, I will still be able to get what I want. Yi Tai took out a cigarette and lit it up, admiring Chu Bai's final moments. Sacred Physician Song, do you want a cigarette? No need. Song Huang said gravely. I am truly unlucky tonight. Looking at Yi Tai lighting up the cigarette, Qingya didn't know why, but she felt disgusted. Yi Hua was the only one who could act cool by lighting up the cigarette. Patting onto Song Huang's shoulder, Yi Tai said, "Don't worry, you will get 50 yuan each." Qin Yutong was unconvinced and shouted out, "Am I only worth 50 yuan? Are you blind?" Qin laughed bitterly. "My little sister is still talking about this at this time." Chu Bai almost vomited out another mouthful of blood. Now is not the time to be tangled about 50 yuan. In this sacred physician's eyes, you two are worth 100 yuan, but in my eyes, you two are priceless. Yi Tai said lecherously. His pair of eyes kept moving back and forth between Qin Ye and Qin Yutong's body. Qin Yutong shouted out, "Then, I will beat the two of you into 100 yuan today." "Let me do it," Qin Ye said faintly. "Big sister, be obedient." Qin Yutong sighed and leaned against the door of the car angrily. Qin Ye hugged onto Dong Huangli and said lightly, "The two of you are very daring." Yi Tai said with a hint of playfulness, "Miss, I even dared to kill the son of an aristocratic family. How daring do you think I am?" "Do you know who my husband is?" Qin Ye said with a slight smile. "I feel that using the name of my husband makes me very happy." "Your husband?" "I only know that your husband is an idiot for not touching a beauty and letting you come out in the middle of the night." Just after Yi Tai finished speaking, he suddenly felt a pain in his head, and a terrifying aura spread out from his heart. This kind of feeling only lasted for a while before disappearing. Qin Ye and Qin Yutong's expression stiffened. There is actually someone who dares to scold Yi Hua as an idiot. Qin Yutong has already regarded them as corpses. There is nothing much to say. This is the first time someone scolded brother-in-law. Qin Ye stared at Yi Tai with her beautiful eyes. "To actually dare to scold my husband, you must be tired of living." "Beauty, you can be at ease. Follow me, I will definitely not let you get off the bed." After speaking, Yi Tai laughed with a wretched look on his face. Chu Bai was already becoming weaker and weaker, and it seemed like he would faint at any moment. Qin Ye slowly stretched out her hand, and a green halo appeared on her palm, which immediately wrapped around Chu Bai. Meanwhile, Chu Bai could feel that the life force within his body was quickly recovering, just like a little bean sprout that was sprouting. Not bad, and it is even a female cultivator. Yi Tai became even more fond of Chu Bai. Song Huang faintly felt that the situation was bad. As a sage doctor, he knew that Chu Bai was a half-dead person, and right now, Chu Bai was recovering at an extremely fast speed. "Move back," Qin Ye said calmly to Chu Bai, and the aura of her bloodline gradually spread out. However, not only did Yi Tai not retreat, he wanted to own her even more. This was a top-grade woman. He was exuding an arrogant aura from head to toe. It would be such a pleasant thing to be pressed under him. Chu Bai stood up, an awkward expression on his face. He had originally wanted to be the hero saving the beauty, but who would have thought that he would be saved by the beauty instead? This was too embarrassing. "Song Huang!" Yi Tai shouted. Right now, Song Huang couldn't care so much anymore. The two of them immediately burst forth with astonishing spiritual energy. The surging aura swept through the surroundings, causing the trees to sway violently, as if there was a level 8 or 9 typhoon. Fiery fist. Flying dragon silk. A huge pressure surged towards the three of them. Yi Tai's entire body turned into a fiery fist, whizzing towards them. Song Huang followed closely behind. He turned his qi into threads and transformed them into the shape of a dragon. As he flew through the air, waves of dragon roars could be heard. It made people think that the divine dragon was born. The scene was filled with a terrifying atmosphere. Spiritual qi surged in all directions, and a piercingly cold, murderous aura blotted out the sky and the earth. They deserved to be the sons of aristocratic families and the holy doctor of the north. Qin Ye slowly raised her jade-like arm, and her slender and delicate fingers couldn't help but make people have improper thoughts. Qin Ye's thumb and middle finger lightly touched together. Chapter 334. With a snap of his fingers, the entire world seemed to have quietened down. What biting cold killing intent, what surging spiritual energy, all of it disappeared completely. Only the two of them were left in the air. Chinya said faintly, "Don't wake Ali up." Chu Bai, who was at the back, had his mouth wide open. At least 20 ham sausages could be inserted into his mouth. With just a snap of his fingers, he was able to take care of the son of an aristocratic family and the sage doctor. If that is the case, just now, I have lost face. If this beauty was already so powerful, then wouldn't her husband be even more abnormal? Oh my God! Oh my God! Qin Yutong, who was at the side, heaved a sigh of relief. Big sister is starting to act cool again. She really doesn't give me even the slightest bit of chance. In the future, I won't play with big sister anymore. Moreover, big sister even imitated brother-in-law by snapping her fingers. It's amazing to have the power of a bloodline. When brother-in-law is in a good mood, I'll ask brother-in-law to help me obtain a bloodline. Fortunately, the seal on the ring on Qinya's finger was not removed. Otherwise, with the snap of her finger, it would have been even more terrifying. At this moment, Yi Tai and Song Huang could no longer remain calm. The other party had merely snapped his fingers, and their spiritual energy had instantly dissipated. This was impossible. Who exactly are you? Yi Tai asked in a low voice. He no longer had the calmness from before and was now in a state of panic. Qinya said faintly, "I'm just an ordinary woman, that's all. I'm just beautiful, rich, and have an adorable husband." Qin Yutong covered her ears. "I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Big sister is too good at acting cool." Even Chu Bai thought so. Back then, Qinya was such a pure and innocent girl. Ever since she got screwed by Yi Hua, she gradually became depraved and started to like to act cool. Yi Tai and Song Huang struggled with all their might, but it was useless. "Do you know who I am? If you dare touch me, you'll be finished." Yi Tai had a look of panic on his face. This woman was so terrifying. He had been in the profession for more than 20 years, and today he had finally stepped on a nail. Qinya waved her hand, and a piece of leaf slowly floated up. "I know, you are the son of an aristocratic family, and he is a sage doctor. Since you know, why aren't you letting me go?" Qinya shouted coldly, "You actually dared to insult my husband just now. You can't avoid death, but you can't escape punishment." Yi Tai stared at Qinya, completely losing the arrogance he had just now. The leaves emitted a green light and instantly attacked the two of them. The green light turned into a flowing shadow and danced in the pitch-black night sky. Shwa shwa shwa. At this moment, the leaves were like sharp blades, cutting open wounds on their bodies. Ah! The blood-curdling screams were deafening, and the bone-deep wounds made one's hair stand on end. "Qinya, stop! I just saved your grandma." Song Huang endured the pain and shouted out. The leaves stopped falling. There was not a single layer of stain on them, which showed how fast they were moving. "Heroine, I won't do it again. I won't dare to do it again. Please spare my life." Yi Tai admitted defeat. This kind of torture was too painful. He might as well give himself a quick death. Chu Bai also whispered, "Miss Qin, killing Yi Tai will be troublesome." Qinya slightly wrinkled her brows. "My parents are still in the north, and in the end, I am following Yi Hua, so I can't stay by their side for a long time. If I were to kill this person, it would be very troublesome for Yi family to investigate this matter, unless I exterminate Yi family." He couldn't be exterminated. The Yi family only had this scum, so the family shouldn't be implicated. Right now, Qinya was affected by Nuwa's bloodline and couldn't bear to be ruthless. Looking at Yi Tai, Qinya said faintly, "If you still dare to forcefully kidnap women in the future, I will definitely not let you off easily. Heroine, be at ease, I won't dare to do bad things anymore." Right now, other than begging for mercy, Yi Tai would agree to any condition. Qinya's beautiful eyes looked towards Song Huang. This was a death stare that came from Qinya. Song Huang's heart trembled, and he didn't dare to raise his head. Let's go home." Qinya let out a breath. "This is the only way." Qin Yutong cried out in surprise, "Big sister, you are letting them go just like that. They are going to—" "All right, Yutong, let's go home." Qinya said tenderly, then patted onto her little sister's shoulder, then sat on the car. Qin Yutong looked towards the two people in the sky. This is also Big Sister's benevolence. If it was me, I would definitely cut the two of you into 100 pieces today. Chu Bai continued to be the driver and returned home. However, his heart was unable to calm down for a long time. The two women behind me are too scary to the point that it makes one's hair stand on end. Yi Tai and Song Huang were still hanging in the sky like kites. After quite a while, Yi Tai and Song Huang fell heavily onto the ground. Looking at the wounds on Yi Tai and Song Huang's body, although they were all superficial wounds, they still couldn't stop complaining. Song Huang, how dare you actually dared to trick me. Yi Tai shouted out angrily towards Song Huang. Originally, he was having fun playing with women, and suddenly he received a phone call saying that there were high-quality women. That's right. High-quality women, high to the point that I can't afford to mess with them. Song Huang didn't expect that these two women had hidden themselves so deeply. Yi Tai, how would I know that they have this kind of strength? Damn it, I have been tricked so badly by you. I didn't manage to get a woman, I even got injured, and my reputation has also been ruined. Yi Tai fiercely punched Song Huang. My spirit stones? Song Huang asked probingly. Yi Tai looked at Song Huang and laughed out. With such a pig-like teammate like you still dare to ask me for spirit stones. Do you still have any face left? But you are the one who is useless, and you can't blame me for not being able to get a woman? Don't you know that I also took a risk with you? You took a risk. I was having fun playing with women, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have ended up like this. When that Chu Bai said that, where should I put my face? The more Yi Tai spoke, the angrier he got. Yi Tai, who had his spirit energy dissipated, actually punched towards Song Huang's face. Song Huang dodged the punch and said coldly, Yi Tai, I can forget about the 100 spirit stones, but you have to give me those 50 spirit stones. Consider it as compensation for mental damage. 50 spirit stones? I won't give you even a single spirit stone. After speaking, the two of them had a feeling that they were ready to fight. After quite a while, the two of them didn't seem to be fighting. It was a bit awkward. Because both of them had injuries on their bodies, it was too painful. Just who is this woman's man? Yi Tai couldn't hold on anymore and sat on the ground. The spirit energy within his body was slowly recovering. Song Huang was the same as well. He said, I don't know, but he seems to be someone important. Then, how did you know about them? I was treating my illness at their house today, so I brought them out to play. I didn't expect that I would be tricked by them for spirit stones. Yi Tai sneered, you were tricked by them, and now you are here to trick me. Well done, Song Huang, I will remember you. You don't have the ability, and yet you blame others. You have the ability? Didn't you still end up being played by those two women? After speaking, the two of them started cursing at each other again. As they cursed at each other, their wounds were affected, and it was so painful that tears started flowing out of their eyes. This time, the two of them didn't speak anymore and focused on recovering their spirit energy. After all, right now, whoever recovered their spirit energy first would have the upper hand. A light breeze blew past, and Song Huang, who was sitting cross-legged, wrinkled his brows. Why is there a smell of smoke in the air? Yi Tai, are you smoking? Song Huang asked coldly. Yi Tai shouted out coldly, Smoke your sister, do you think I have the mood to smoke? Then why is there a smell of smoke in the air? Song Huang asked confusedly. Yi Tai sniffed, and he seems to have indeed smelled a smell of smoke. Where did this smell of smoke come from? The two of them looked around, and suddenly, their attention was attracted by a red. That red dot should be a cigarette butt. There is actually someone smoking in that forest. Chapter 3:35. Yi Tai and Song Huang's expressions tensed up, and they slowly stood up. Yi Tai looked at the black shadow and shouted, Who is playing tricks over there? Get out here right now. Song Huang didn't say anything. He just stared at them. A figure slowly walked out from the forest, smoking a cigarette. The two of them sized up the man. He had a calm demeanor, was smoking, and was wearing a silk nightgown with floral patterns. On his feet was a pair of sociopathic slippers. Who are you? Song Huang asked in a low voice. He took a puff of his cigarette and said, I am the idiot that all of you are talking about. That's right. This person was precisely Yi Hua. In actuality, Yi Hua had already sensed Dong Huang Li's call for help. After leaving behind a mirror image on the bed, Yi Hua appeared at the scene. I really want to see who dares to provoke my child. Who knew that Ali was completely fine. He was just competing with someone in poetry, and his subordinates were helping Ali cheat. Cheating in games was one thing, but cheating in bullying others was definitely not allowed. He had to properly teach Ali that cheating was not allowed. However, Ali did not embarrass herself. She still had to praise what she deserved. Yi Hua decided that he might as well continue to stay. He saw that Xiao Yi's overall performance was not bad, and he knew how to conduct himself. Of course, when Yi Hua saw Chen Xuanzong, he immediately wanted to kill Chen Xuanzong. However, Qin Ye's attitude made Yi Hua very happy, and thus, Yi Hua didn't kill Chen Xuanzong. During the auction, Yi Hua also discovered something interesting. Initially, I thought that with Xiao Yi's withdrawal, Bai family would naturally be able to obtain the position of an aristocratic family, but I didn't expect that Tang family would suddenly appear out of nowhere. However, this was not the main point. It seemed that there was a story behind the Tang family's dagger. It would be better to ask Baiji about it. Things had become very interesting. Initially, Yi Hua wanted to come back directly, but Yi Hua was a little worried. Thus, he followed behind Yi Hua. Sure enough, something happened. Then, he quietly stood at the side and watched his wife act cool. Qin Ye's words made Yi Hua feel very happy. She called Yi Hua hubby, so sweetly. When she was at home, she didn't have this kind of attitude. She would call Yi Hua, and when she was acting coquettishly, she would call Yi Hua hubby. However, Qin Ye was still not decisive enough. There was no need to keep this kind of people, because their nature would never change. If you let them off once, they would think of ways to continue harassing you. The trouble would not stop. More importantly, these two people actually dared to insult my lovely wife and sister-in-law. This sin, even the heavens will not forgive. You even dared to call me an idiot. Since Qin Ye is merciful and doesn't want to make a move, then let me do it for her. This was just like how the wife would let the man go, and the man would follow behind and kill the man. Hearing Yi Hua's words, the two were puzzled for a moment, and Yi Tai said in surprise, You are Qin Ye's husband. I, the Supreme Overlord, am naturally her man, and only such an outstanding man like me is worthy of her. Yi Hua breathed out a mouthful of smoke, and an extraordinary aura was being emitted from his entire body. The air of narcissism. Yi Tai and Song Huang also sensed an aura of arrogance coming from Yi Tai. No wonder that woman's arrogance was so high. Yi Tai and Song Huang's emotions were all led astray by Yi Tai. What do you want? Song Huang asked coldly. Yi Hua flicked away the cigarette but in his hand, What do I want? Don't you stupid humans know what's going on? The two of them slowly retreated. Yi Tai hurriedly said, Your wife just let us go. You can't go back on your words. In my home, my words are the heavens, and they don't count. Yi Hua said faintly. He wanted to light up another cigarette, but in the end he wasn't able to. Dong Huang Baiji had restricted his movements. Seeing Yi Hua's actions, Yi Tai immediately took out the cigarette that he was carrying. Big brother, please smoke. Not bad, you know how to conduct yourself. Yi Hua stuffed the cigarette into his pajamas, then took out a cigarette and lit it up. After taking a puff of the cigarette, Yi Hua immediately wrinkled his brows and looked at the brand. I, the Supreme Overlord, still prefer to smoke Farong King. Therefore, you cannot escape from your sins. Yi Hua silently took a puff of the cigarette. The taste is not bad, just that it is a bit expensive. Right now, my finances are being controlled by my wives, and I only get 100 RMB per day. I can't afford to smoke it. This fellow actually dared to show off in front of me. This is unforgivable. Yi Tai and Song Huang were smart people. Qin Ye is already so formidable as her husband, wouldn't he be even more monstrous? Big brother, I really didn't do it on purpose, it was all his idea that gave me. I was just hot-headed, that's why I did such a foolish thing. Yi Tai pointed at Song Huang and shouted out. Song Huang was also unwilling to give up. Yi Tai, I didn't force you to come, you were the one who wanted to come. Yi Hua waved his hand and said faintly, all right, stop fighting, just enjoy your final moments in this world. Yi Tai shook his head. I am still young, I don't want to die. You can't kill me, I am the son of an aristocratic family. If you kill me, my father won't let you off, Voidless Realm won't let you off as well. Yi Tai couldn't help but threaten Yi Hua. Right now, this is the only way for me to survive. Yi Hua let out a breath, then said faintly, I forgot to tell you too, I still have a wife, her name is Donghuang Baiji, and she is precisely your empress. Just now, I was even hugging her to sleep. Yi Tai and Song Huang opened their eyes wide, their faces filled with disbelief. How can the empress be this man's woman? Therefore, don't use your small Yi family to threaten me. With just a flick of my cigarette ash, your Yi family will be annihilated. Yi Hua flicked the cigarette ash and said slowly. Song Huang suddenly recalled what happened tonight. No wonder those people would respect Qingya so much. No wonder those people from Voidless Realm want to sit beside that woman. Because even the Empress is my woman, and that woman definitely knows the Empress. Thinking up to here, Song Huang's entire body felt powerless, as if he was about to collapse. After Yi Hua finished smoking the cigarette, he stepped on the cigarette and extinguished it. All right, are there any other threats? I can destroy all of your threats one by one. Even if the Empress is your wife, you still won't be able to dominate the entire cultivation world. There is still Ying family in the south. Yi Tai roared out angrily, wanting to use this method to increase his confidence. However, it was completely useless. Yi Hua said lightly, Ying family's Ying Jingshan is already my subordinate. Do you think that Ying family would rashly attack Voidless Realm? Without my permission, do you think that they would dare to attack Voidless Realm? Looking at how easily Yi Hua described Voidless Realm, Yi Tai didn't want to believe what Yi Hua said, but from the bottom of his heart, he believed what Yi Hua said. This demon. He actually ordered his subordinate to attack Voidless Realm, which is his wife. This demon is simply inhumane. All of your movements are within my grasp. Do you still have any other threats? I will give you a chance to threaten me. Yi Tai's body became unstable and fell onto the ground. All of this is fake. All of this is fake. Right now, Song Huang's head was buzzing. If what this man said is true, then the entire cultivation world is within his grasp. I might as well give you a piece of news for free. Ji family was exterminated by me. Chapter 336. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. I can only act cool in front of the two salted fishes. When will I be able to say something like this in a big scene? That kind of scene would definitely be very exciting. The two of them thought that they were in control of the entire situation, but in actuality, they were just playthings that I, the Supreme Overlord, was holding on to. I am really looking forward to that day. I will remember this debt of Yi family first. I am a stingy person, I will slowly settle it with them in the future. Looking at the two lifeless people in front of him, Yi Hua lightly tapped on the ground with his finger, and tree roots could actually be seen growing out of the two's legs. It grew out of the flesh and blood, then stabbed into the ground. Ah! Branches and leaves sprouted from their bodies. These were formed from the blood of their meridians. The pain was unimaginable, but they didn't faint at all. Instead, they could clearly feel it. Yi Hua slowly turned his body around. You all actually dared to touch my woman? I shall bestow upon you the most painful punishment. As Yi Hua's figure disappeared, two trees appeared on the scene. Yi Tai and Song Huang did not die. They looked at the world around them and wanted to let out a blood-curdling scream. However, they could not do so. This was even more painful than death. Furthermore, every time a leaf fell or a branch broke, it would be a cruel torture. After all, the leaves and branches were their flesh and blood. As long as the heavens and earth were not destroyed, they could only watch on. Perhaps if there was a fire, they could be freed. After returning back to the bed, Yi Hua continued to hug onto the Empress who was in his embrace, and his hands were lightly rubbing onto her body. Sob, sob, sob. Dong Huang Baiji, who was in her sleep, let out a moan. Soon after, she turned over and leaned onto Yi Hua's bosom, then stretched out her hands and hugged onto Yi Hua's body. Looking at the Empress, who looked just like a cat, Yi Hua laughed lightly and lightly hugged onto the Empress. He gradually fell into a deep sleep. However, tonight, Yi Hua had a bad dream, because the two women quarreled with him again. How is this possible? Where did they get the courage to quarrel with her? Yi Hua, you want to wake up? Dong Huang Baiji's urging voice rang out beside Yi Hua's ears. Yi Hua slowly opened his eyes, and what entered his eyes was the beautiful Dong Huang Baiji. The Empress actually put on makeup today. With Dong Huang Baiji's appearance, even if she did not put on makeup, she would still be extremely beautiful. However, after putting on makeup, although it could not be said to be the icing on the cake, it could still slightly embellish her appearance. However, it had a different kind of flavor, and Yi Hua liked it very much. Furthermore, the Empress was dressed very stylishly today. She was wearing a floral dress, revealing her pure white jade-like arms. Her jet black hair was tied up behind her head. She was dressed like a married person. Looking at the current Dong Huang Baiji, Yi Hua said, "Who are you trying to seduce?" Dong Huang Baiji said petulantly, "Isn't it because I'm trying to give you face?" Comfortable, these words sounded comfortable. Without any hesitation, Yi Hua went downstairs, pressed Dong Huang Baiji onto the bed, and kissed her madly. "My lipstick is ruined." Dong Huang Baiji pushed Yi Hua away and said with a red face, "Apply more." With that, he kissed her. Dong Huang Baiji gave Yi Hua a sweet kiss, then said, "Stop messing around, something strange happened last night." However, Yi Hua still hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji and asked, "What's wrong?" Last night, Voidless Realm was going to announce the 6th aristocratic family in the north. However, a situation occurred, and this situation is rather thorny. Dong Huang Baiji also wanted Yi Hua to help her think of an idea. After all, this matter had already happened a long time ago, and after she got a man, Dong Huang Baiji's reliance on Yi Hua became a bit too heavy. Yi Hua asked curiously, "What problem?" Dong Huang Baiji told Yi Hua about what happened, and Yi Hua finally understood. So it turns out that this ancient godly item is related to a case that happened 100 years ago. Interesting. This is too interesting. I am interested in this Tang family. I shall give you all a chance then, do your best to act in this drama. Baiji, getting this ancient godly item is all fate. Furthermore, this is a matter that happened 100 years ago. We shouldn't let the people of the current generation bear this burden. Dong Huang Baiji raised her head and looked towards her husband, then asked tenderly, "Yi Hua, you mean to let Tang family be chosen? Since you all have a rule that as long as a family possesses an ancient godly item, if you don't allow it now, you would be breaking your promise. After that, who would care about the origin of your ancient godly item?" There was nothing wrong with what Yi Hua said. On the surface, he was doing this for Voidless Realm's prestige, but in the dark, he was preparing to support Tang family. Dong Huang Baiji felt that what Yi Hua said was very reasonable. Voidless Realm cannot break their promise. "And I understand." Dong Huang Baiji smiled tenderly. "Why aren't you thanking your husband?" Yi Hua lifted onto the Empress's chin and said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji took a charming look at the man, then pounced onto Yi Hua, looking like she was going to forcefully kiss him. I, the Supreme Overlord, like such a strong woman. After the warm moment in the morning, the two walked out of the door. Right now, Yi Hua was no longer bound by the crutch, and he looked as if he had completely recovered. Just now, when Yi Hua saw the message that Qin Ye sent over, he laughed lightly and replied with a "love you." Of course, there was also the video that Qin Yutong sent over. Today was the registration day for Yi Zizi. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji accompanied Yi Zizi together. Yi Hua was worried that Yi Zizi would cause trouble, and Dong Huang Baiji was concerned about Yi Zizi. After all, Yi Zizi was her husband's cousin. Dong dong dong. Yi Hua knocked on Qin Yutong's door. Dong dong dong. Yi Hua's brows wrinkled. This Yi Zizi couldn't have run away, right? Yi Hua directly pushed open the door and entered the room. When he saw Yi Zizi, who was lying on the bed without a care for her image, Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief. If you run away today, I will spank your butt until it becomes swollen. Yi Zizi was very sad. Yesterday night, when I saw the video that Qing Yutong sent over, I felt very envious. While they are acting cool outside, I have to go and get tortured. I am not willing to accept this. What time is it now? Why aren't you getting up? Yi Hua shouted gravely. Dong Huang Baiji pulled onto Yi Hua's arm. She is just a child, what is she shouting for? It is normal for her to sleep late. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji went to wake Yi Zizi up. Whoa, I don't want to wake up, I don't want to go to school, I want to go out and play, I want to play games. Yi Zizi was only pretending to be asleep. Her 4 limbs were slapping the blanket, and half of her spotlessly white but was revealed. Dong Huang Baiji hurriedly covered her butt and said, Zizi, everyone has to go to school. Big cousin has never gone to school before. Yi Zizi said angrily. Wei Chang and the others don't want to go to school, so why do I have to go to school? Yi Hua's gaze turned cold as he shouted gravely, even if you don't want to go to school today, you still have to go to school today. If not, scram with me. Yi Zizi cried out and hugged onto Dong Huang Baiji. Sister-in-law, look at big cousin, he is bullying me again. Dong Huang Baiji rolled her eyes at Yi Hua. However, since Yi Hua is playing the bad cop, I will play the good cop. Alright, your big cousin is doing this for your own good. Get up, if not, even sister-in-law will not be able to stop your big cousin. Yi Zizi knew that she wouldn't be able to run away, unless she really scram with Yi Hua. However, she didn't want to scram with Yi Hua, and thus, she could only go to school. Chapter 337. Yi Hua walked out of the room, then went to the bar counter and poured himself a cup of wine. Not long after, Dong Huang Baiji came out with Yi Zizi, who had a gloomy look on her face. Today, Yi Zizi was meticulously dressed up by Dong Huang Baiji. Yi Zizi was wearing a pink princess dress, a ponytail that was tied with a big butterfly knot, and she was even wearing a pair of extremely long white socks. These are white silk socks, right? With a pair of pink leather shoes on her feet, she looked like a little princess from a fairy tale, or a character from a two-dimensional world. Seeing that Yi Hua was secretly drinking wine, Dong Huang Baiji advised, don't drink wine on an empty stomach. Yi Hua kept the wine bottle and hugged onto his wife's waist. Yi Hua had a look of, this woman is mine, you guys can just go ahead and be envious of her. Yi Zizi was very depressed as she was being held by Dong Huang Baiji. My depraved life is going to end soon. In the future, I still have to sleep early and wake up early. To a lazy person like me, this is simply torture. It was still the same Audi A8. The Empress was driving, Yi Hua was sitting at the side, and Yi Zizi was sitting at the back seat with a face full of melancholy. Yi Zizi was swinging her legs in boredom, and her scarlet red eyes were looking left and right. Give me a dozen of these cute lolis. Yi Hua pointed to a fried dough stick stall at the roadside. Baiji, let's stop for breakfast first. After parking the car, the 3 of them got out to have breakfast. Most people thought that they were a family of 3. The man was handsome, the woman was beautiful, and the child was a lowly. This family's appearance was almost out of the sky. Boss, give me 5 fried dough sticks and 3 bowls of porridge first. Yi Hua shouted towards the boss. From the looks of it, the boss was also a regular customer. Alright, wait a moment. I'll blow it up for you right away. The 3 sat down. Dong Huang Baiji wiped her chopsticks and placed them beside Yi Hua. When all the fried dough sticks were served, Yi Hua soaked the fried dough sticks in the congee, then ate it. Yi Hua felt great. Then he ate a mouthful of pickled vegetables. Dong Huang Baiji's table manners were much more elegant, just like Qinya. Yi Zizi was so angry that she couldn't eat anymore. You are still throwing a tantrum? Yi Hua said while looking at Yi Zizi. Big cousin, I can go to school, but I have a request. Yi Zizi pouted and said. What? I want to buy a Ferrari. Yi Hua. Looking at Yi Zizi's expression, Yi Hua laughed lightly. Can I buy a plane for you? No, I want a Ferrari. I'll buy you an aircraft carrier. No, I want the Ferrari. I, the Supreme Overlord, don't even have a car, and all of the money that I won was taken by Chinya. I will give you 700 renminbi for your living expenses for a week, and this time, when Chinya comes back, I will definitely have a family meeting. At the very least, I have to give her half of the money that I won. I shouldn't have given all of it to Chinya. Alright, after you finish registering, I will bring you to buy a Ferrari. Yi Hua said faintly. Yi Zizi was delighted. Really? Yi Hua nodded his head. You actually believe my words? You are too young. Donghuang Baiji did not say anything. How could Yi Hua possibly have the money to buy a car? The reason why Donghuang Baiji and I cut off her husband's source of income wasn't because we wanted to save money, we just wanted Yi Hua to go out and have a walk, and not stay at home all day. Ingyu Elementary School was one of the key elementary schools in the city. It was said that the entrance exam questions were very difficult, and even some adults couldn't answer them. Today was the registration day, and there were a lot of parents who brought their children to the school, and all of them were dressed up beautifully. Donghuang Baiji parked the car not far away, and the three of them walked over. Yi Hua took out a cigarette and lit it up. Donghuang Baiji asked faintly, Yi Hua, where did you get this cigarette from? I picked it up from the bar counter in the morning. Yi Hua suddenly had an idea. Donghuang Baiji stretched out her hand, and Yi Hua helplessly passed the cigarette to the Empress. You are already preparing to have a child, don't smoke. Donghuang Baiji persuaded. Yi Hua was also very vexed. What does smoking have to do with giving birth to a child? Isn't Ali still smart? This is just a precaution. In my eyes, there is no what if. Yi Hua said disdainfully. Looking at Yi Hua who was smoking, Donghuang Baiji decided not to argue anymore, because the Yi Hua who is smoking, this world is already his. Just like the other parents, the mother was holding on to the child, and the father was sizing up the place. Yi Hua was the same as well. This school is just SOSO, I hope that Yi Zizi will be able to pass the test. The trio attracted a lot of people's attention. This was a combination of good looks. The whole family was so outstanding. A lot of children were looking at Yi Zizi. Such a cute girl, I must chase after her. Following the documents that Lai Gu provided, Yi Hua found the teaching director. This teaching director was very honest and respectfully brought Yi Hua to the classroom. Yi Hua received his textbook, school bag, and school uniform. Yi Zizi helplessly carried her heavy school bag and was unhappy. The boys in the surrounding classes all ran over to look at Yi Zizi, and the boys in Yi Zizi's class were even more excited. I didn't expect that there would be a new student in my class. She is so cute. The girls also revealed envious expressions. She is so cute. Class monitor, this girl is so cute. She is even cuter than the prettiest girl in our class. A child in the classroom said to the class monitor. The class monitor was called Lu Chuanfeng. He was a very awesome primary school student, and beside him was his little brother, Wang Ji. Lu Chuanfeng had already noticed Yi Zizi long ago, and he was even more attracted by Yi Zizi's beauty. She is even more beautiful than his big sisters. Let's talk about it when school starts tomorrow. Lu Chuanfeng said deeply. He did not look like a child at all, and his expression looked more like that of an adult. That's right, Lu Chuanfeng's body was indeed that of an adult, it was just that he had reincarnated into the body of a child, causing him to feel very depressed. The pain was short and powerless. Yi Zizi looked at the primary school students in the classroom and wished that she could kill them all. Mr. Yi, the procedures have been completed. Just bring the child to school tomorrow, the dean said politely. Up until now, Yi Zizi's performance has been pretty good, and she did not cause any trouble for me. After Yi Zizi left, everyone in the class started to talk about this new student. She's so cute, I like those two ponytails. Back in the car, Yi Zizi put down her bag and said, I want a Ferrari. Baiji, bring her to buy a Ferrari. Yi Hua said faintly. Donghuang Baiji was helpless. This fellow will definitely have to fork out his own money. However, Donghuang Baiji was wrong, and Yi Zizi was also wrong. Looking at the bicycle shop in front of him, Yi Hua said faintly, pick one yourself. When the time comes, Big Cousin will carve the 3 words Ferrari on your bicycle. The corner of Yi Zizi's mouth twitched violently. Then she pouted and said, Big cousin. You're lying. You still want a Ferrari? Do you have a driver's license? Your height won't even be as high as the steering wheel. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. This is too outrageous, not as obedient as my daughter. Just how did I bring her up in the past to let her develop so many bad habits? Chapter 338. Dong Huang Baiji didn't know what to say anymore. Then get the hell out of here. Wu, if Zizi doesn't get lost, I want the Ferrari. Yi Hua stared at Yi Zizi coldly, and the latter shrunk her head. His honor is angry. Yi Hua, enough, why are you scaring Zizi? Dong Huang Baiji interceded for Yi Zizi. When Yi Hua put on a stern face, it was rather scary. You are really lacking discipline. In the future, when we take the bus, there is nothing to discuss. After finished speaking, Yi Hua pulled Dong Huang Baiji and left. Yi Zizi shouted out in her heart. His honor is a scoundrel, stingy, jealous king, pretentious king, bullying a child, shameless. After returning back, Yi Zizi heavily closed the door. This was her way of expressing her rebellion. Meanwhile, Yi Hua shouted towards Yi Zizi who was in the room, either you go to school tomorrow, or you run away from home tomorrow. Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly, all right Yi Hua, stop scolding the child. You are asking for a beating. Yi Hua said angrily. Within the entire 7 sins, only Yi Zizi was mischievous. Yi Zizi threw off the shoes on her feet, then sat on the bed while hugging onto the pillow. Yi Zizi continuously scolded his honor, thinking that the previous his honor was the best. It must be said, the little loli who was sitting on the bed was much more tasteful. Her body was soft and easy to push down. Although her legs weren't long, they were very tasteful. Yi Zizi decided, I am not going to school even if I am beaten to death. I am going to leave home, I am not going to play with his honor anymore. The next morning at 6 a.m., Yi Zizi was woken up by the alarm. Rubbing her hazy big eyes, it has been a long time since I woke up so early. After washing up, Yi Zizi wore a brand new school uniform, carried her school bag, and left the house. Yi Hua stood on the windowsill of the bedroom, hugged onto the Empress and said faintly, You are quite sensible. Yi Hua, I still want to sleep. The Empress said sweetly while caressing onto Yi Hua's chest. Hearing the Empress's request, Yi Hua would naturally satisfy it. Yi Zizi kicked the pebbles on the road, feeling very depressed. However, Yi Zizi who was wearing the blue school uniform was rather cute. If she was wearing a red scarf, she would be even more outstanding. Zizi, you are going to school. An aunt who was selling pancakes greeted Zizi. Yi Zizi nodded silently. She didn't seem to like communicating with others, but when she saw the pancake she licked the corner of her mouth. You haven't had breakfast yet, right? Auntie will make you a pancake. Yi Zizi took out the money and found that it was 2 yuan for the bus fare and lunch. She didn't even have pocket money. Yi Zizi, the poorest of the 7 deadly sins in history. The middle-aged woman seemed to know what Yi Zizi was thinking and said generously, I won't charge you. Hearing that, Yi Zizi immediately became happy. She revealed a smile, but she still didn't say anything, as if she had a language disorder. If Yi Hua were to find out that the aunt was giving Yi Zizi free food, he would definitely come over to argue with Yi Hua. Why can't I, the supreme overlord, do it for free? Yi Zizi was in a much better mood as she held the piping hot fruit pancake in her hand. She skipped toward the bus stop. There were still many people waiting for the bus. The pancakes made by the auntie were really delicious. Yi Zizi got on the bus while eating her pancake and stuffed 1 yuan into the driver's pocket. As the bus moved forward, the number of people on the bus increased. Yi Zizi sat in her seat and looked out of the window. Little friend, hurry up and give me your seat. A middle-aged woman with a wavy hairstyle said to Yi Zizi. Her tone was very domineering. Yi Zizi turned to look at the woman, then looked out the window. Little friend, you are very impolite. Everyone quickly come and take a look. Upon seeing that, the middle-aged woman immediately started using all kinds of moral coercion on Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi's face was very tense. She really wanted to slap the middle-aged woman who was making noise in front of her to death. In actuality, Yi Zizi's patience wasn't that good. As long as the enemy used a bit of provocation, Yi Zizi would fall for it. At this time, an old man stood out and said, "How can you be like this? You are so young, yet you are already taking advantage of your seniority. You have hands and feet, yet you are still bullying an immature child." After being said by the old man, the middle-aged woman seemed to be embarrassed. Furthermore, the surrounding people were also discussing spiritedly. "In the past, I used this trick every time I used it, but today, it doesn't work anymore." In actuality, Yi Zizi's forbearing look, in the eyes of other people, looked like she was helpless. She looked very pitiful, and no one had the heart to scold this little girl. "Old man, what does this have to do with you? If you have the ability, why don't you ask her to give you her seat?" The middle-aged woman was unconvinced and appeared to be very sharp and unkind. Yi Zizi suddenly stood up and pulled onto the old man. The meaning behind her action was very obvious. The old man smiled kindly and said, "No need, Grandpa's body is great." Yi Zizi shook her head and pointed to the seat. With a smile on his face, the old man sat down and said to the middle-aged woman, "Look at this child, why is she so impolite? But you are the one who is impolite." The middle-aged woman was slapped in the face by her own words, and she felt extremely embarrassed. When the bus stopped, she got off the bus. Yi Zizi used her brain. If Yi Hua knew about this, he would definitely be very gratified. Don't think that this is just a small matter of giving up her seat. If it was used in other places, the effect would be extraordinary. Yi Hua's goal could be considered to have been achieved. "Little friend, where are you going?" Seeing that Yi Zizi was wearing a school uniform, the old man asked curiously. Yi Zizi had a bit of a favorable impression towards this old man, in Yu Elementary School. The old man went into a daze and said hurriedly, "Little friend, you are taking the wrong bus. You are taking the 118 bus." Yi Zizi replied indifferently. "So it turns out that I took the wrong bus. Should I be anxious? Or should I be sad? I might as well skip school, that should be very happy." Seeing that Yi Zizi's behavior was different from other children, the old man asked concernedly, "You don't know how to get to school?" Yi Zizi shook her head. "Where are your father and mother?" Yi Zizi shook her head. "My own parents? They should be dead, right?" The old man was also very worried and decided to send Yi Zizi to school. After arriving at the bus stop, the old man brought Yi Zizi to the correct bus. Yi Zizi felt that the old man was very strange. Why does he care about my matters? Does he not need to do anything? He is so bored. Half an hour later, they arrived at Yu Elementary School. Right now, it was already 7:50 p.m., and the gates of the school were all closed. Yi Zizi was late for the first day of school. "What are you guys doing?" The security guard at the entrance shouted out. The old man smiled and said, "The child took the wrong bus. That's why he is late." The security guard looked at Yi Zizi, who had a cold expression on her face. "Since she is wearing a school uniform, she should be from this school. Go in, don't be late next time." The old man smiled and said to Yi Zizi, "Quickly go in." Yi Zizi wrinkled her brows, as if she was making a difficult choice. "Thank you." After saying that, Yi Zizi ran into the school. Chapter 339. In actuality, Yi Zizi was still affected by Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli was very polite. Even when they were playing games, Dong Huangli would still say, "I'm sorry, I'm going to kill you." Or, "Thank you for letting me kill you." Therefore, the current environment made Yi Zizi feel different. Thinking back to the past, in that kind of environment, it was a competition to see who could kill more people, and the topic was always blood. Carrying her school bag, Yi Zizi walked on the small path of the school. The students upstairs looked at her curiously. At this time, she was not in the classroom, but outside. Wasn't she afraid of being scolded by the teacher? Yi Zizi, on the other hand, didn't mind and walked toward her class. Yi Zizi noticed a woman speaking at the podium. She ignored her and walked into the classroom, sitting in the last row of the classroom. All the students stared at Yi Zizi with their mouths agape. How awesome! She didn't even put the form teacher in her eyes and directly walked in. Teacher Ma was an outstanding primary school teacher, but in his more than 20 years of teaching, this was the first time he had seen such an arrogant student. This was only the second grade of primary school. If they were in junior high or senior high school, it would be amazing. Moreover, this child is so beautiful. I must pull her towards the right path and not take any detours. Class president, this girl is so strong. She's not even afraid of the homeroom teacher, Wang Qi secretly said to Lu Chuanfeng with a look of admiration. Lu Chuanfeng didn't feel anything. After all, he had the mind of an adult in his body. He said, "Yes, very powerful." Yi Zizi stuffed her bag into the drawer, then rested her chin on her hands and waited for school to end. Teacher Ma kept staring at Yi Zizi, seemingly wanting to intimidate her with his aura so that she would become obedient. However, Yi Zizi didn't feel anything at all. She was still yawning. Teacher Ma is very angry. There has never been a student who can escape my deep gaze. Classmate Yi Zizi. Hearing someone calling her name, Yi Zizi looked at the woman on the podium and realized that the woman was staring at her. Was he provoking him? As his honor's subordinate, how can I be afraid of a challenge? Yi Zizi glared at him, and Mr. Ma took a step back. What a powerful little girl. He had been in the profession for more than 20 years, yet he was frightened by the little girl's eyes today. How infuriated. Yi Zizi, today is the first day of school. Why are you late? Teacher Ma changed his strategy and questioned. Yi Zizi didn't say anything. She didn't want to talk to anyone. The teacher is asking you a question. Teacher Ma shouted. Yi Zizi still didn't say anything. She was still sleeping on the table. This infuriated Teacher Ma. Call your parents over. I've never seen such a child before. It's too infuriating. Yi Zizi still did not have any reaction. After using all kinds of tricks, Teacher Ma walked to Yi Zizi with a gloomy face. Yi Zizi! Yi Zizi! No reaction, no reaction, this stubborn brat. Teacher Ma hurriedly went to find the phone number of the child's parents. He had to talk to them. Right now, Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji had just woken up. Right after brushing their teeth, Yi Hua received a call from his teacher. Baiji, I will make a trip to school. Yi Hua said gravely. This is the first day, and you are already being dishonest. Donghuang Baiji was currently washing up, and when she heard that Yi Hua was going to school, she thought to herself that it was definitely because of Yi Zizi. Yi Hua, wait for me, let's go together. Donghuang Baiji was still worried, and she felt that it would be better for her to tag along with them. The two of them didn't even eat breakfast and directly rushed to the school. In the office, Teacher Ma stared at Yi Zizi while Yi Zizi looked out of the window with a worried look. At this moment, Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji rushed over. When Yi Hua saw Yi Zizi's attitude, his anger soared. To actually go against the supreme overlord, Yi Hua's guts were getting bigger and bigger. Yi Zizi, see if I don't beat you to death today. After speaking, Yi Hua immediately rushed forward. The surrounding teachers were all stupefied by Yi Hua's attitude. This is not an act, this is for real. To even be able to help a child like that, you are completely inhumane. Donghuang Baiji pulled onto Yi Hua. Yi Hua, no matter how immature Zizi is, you still can't hit him. Baiji, let go of me. Today I will definitely beat this fellow to death. Yi Hua shouted out angrily. Yi Zizi appeared to be very scared. She retreated to the corner of the wall and trembled. Originally, he wanted to talk to the parent, but he didn't expect the parent to be even more violent. No wonder the child's personality was like that. He was afraid of being beaten up. Don't be agitated. In fact, Yi Zizi didn't do anything. She was just late today, Teacher Ma hurriedly comforted. Yi Hua went into a daze. Not only did he not ease up, he even said coldly, Yi Zizi, you dare to be late. What did I teach you? You must have a sense of time. Today, I will definitely beat you to death. Thinking back, Yi Zizi would often be late to battles. The reason for that was because she had overslept and didn't have a sense of time at all. Facing his honor's anger, Yi Zizi shrunk into a corner and looked very pitiful. Teacher Ma turned pale with fright. I didn't expect that a small amount of being late would make him so angry. Wouldn't Yi Zizi be beaten to death when she returns to school? Don't be angry, Student Yizizi had already explained just now. Last night, she revised until very late, and today, she even helped an old granny to cross the road, which is why she was late. She is a good child, she is worthy of praise. Teacher Ma's attitude really changed 180 degrees. Yihua looked at Yizizi, seemingly asking if what the teacher said was true or not. Yizizi nodded her head fearfully. All right, let go of me. Yihua said to Donghuang Baiji, who was beside him. Donghuang Baiji was helpless. I didn't expect that Yihua's attitude towards Yizizi would be so explosive. Yihua looked at Teacher Ma, who was in front of him, and said faintly, if Yizizi dares to act recklessly in school, give me a call, I will go back tonight and properly take care of her. Teacher Ma's expression stiffened as he persuaded that hitting a child won't solve the problem. If you don't hit her, she won't learn her lesson. I will remember it. After finished speaking, Yihua left with Donghuang Baiji. All of the teachers who were present let out a breath of relief. This parent's temper is too big, we are really worried for this child. This child is so adorable, it is possible that there are injuries all over her body. Teacher Ma sighed, Yizizi, go back to class. Yizizi did not say anything and silently walked out of the office. This is so boring, his honors acting skills are too weak. He looked like he was going to hit me, but he was held back by sister-in-law. This is too fake. However, this is also good, that Teacher Ma won't casually complain about me in the future. Yihua, who was sitting back in the car, was very angry. Yizizi is too unruly. Yihua, what happened today? Why are you so angry today? Donghuang Baiji was very puzzled. Yihua sighed lightly, nothing much, let's go back home. Seeing that Yihua wasn't willing to talk about it, Donghuang Baiji didn't continue asking. She felt that Yihua had quite a lot of secrets on him. She wanted to ask about it, but she was afraid that Yihua would get angry. Meanwhile, Qinya, who was far away in Zijin City, was very puzzled. Regarding the auction that night, everyone's attitude was suspicious, especially Xiao Yi. That attitude of his was completely filled with unwillingness. Chapter 340. These 2 days, Qinya and her sister had been accompanying their mother and did not go out at all. Meanwhile, after Chu Bai sent the 2 ladies back that night, he immediately returned to the Chu family. He reported the scandal of Yi Tai and Song Huang to the Chu family. The Chu family was furious. They didn't expect that Yi Tai and Song Huang would actually surround and kill their son. For this kind of matter, justice must be sought. Yi family naturally wouldn't believe such a one-sided story. Thus, Yi family sent people to look for Yi Tai and Song Huang. However, up till now, Yi Tai and Song Huang were still not found. Within Qing family's villa, Qin Yutong was currently hugging onto Dong Huang Li, and the 2 of them were currently watching Happy Home. It was fine that Dong Huang Li was focused, but Qin Yutong was the same as well. From time to time, Qin Yutong and Dong Huang Li would discuss the plot of the movie and which sheep would be eaten first. Qin Yi sat at the side and pondered. Yutong, did you contact Sage Doctor? Wang Muqing asked tenderly. Qin Yutong smiled. Mom, why would Sage Doctor take a fancy to me? He has not contacted me for a long time. Silly child, if he doesn't contact you, you can contact him. Qin Yutong immediately became speechless. My mother is so snobbish. Zihan asked, are you in contact with Chen Xuanzong? Qinya couldn't come back to her senses. Yeah? Zihan called out. What's wrong? Qinya came back to her senses and asked. Just now, she was thinking about something. Zihan sighed. What are you thinking about? Oh, nothing. What's wrong? Have you met with Chen Xuanzong? Zihan asked. Qinya wrinkled her brows. From the looks of it, my mother has taken a fancy to Chen Xuanzong. Mother, I am a married woman, is it all right for you to do this? Zihan sighed helplessly. The 2 mothers looked at each other, and their eyes were full of depression. Standing up, Qinya said lightly, I will go and buy a roast duck. Yutong, do you want to go with me? Qin Yutong was not interested in buying roast duck. Not going, you can go by yourself. Ali, are you going? Qinya asked. Dong Huang Li said with a childish voice, Ah Li won't go. Alright, since the two of you aren't going, I will go by myself then. Qinya appeared to be depressed, but in actuality, she was smiling in her heart. This is a move of retreating in order to advance. After all, they were Yi Hua's eyes. Just now, if I were to directly say it out, Qin Yutong would definitely be doubtful. Thus, I decided to ask first, and let my little sister let down her guard. Sure enough, Qinya did not change her clothes. Wearing a t-shirt and jeans, she casually took a car key and left the house. Qin Yutong, this 007, did not fulfill his duty. Because Qinya planned to pay a visit to Xiao family, she wanted to know why Xiao Yi suddenly returned the money. In actuality, this question had been perplexing Qinya for a very long time. When Xiao Yi appeared respectfully, Qinya became even more curious. Since Yi Hua isn't willing to tell me, I'll just go and ask him myself. Due to Qin Yutong's negligence, the originally tranquil family's disturbance once again seemed to be stirred up. Qinya drove a BMW 740 and headed straight towards Xiao family. 40 minutes later, Qinya stopped the car outside of Xiao mansion. Looking at this Xiao mansion, Qinya was rather shocked. This Xiao mansion sure is imposing. Yi Hua is much more low profile. Yi Hua had gotten used to it, and that was why he decided to change his taste. Miss, what's the matter? The guard at the entrance of the Xiao mansion asked. Qinya said faintly, I am looking for Xiao Yi. I dare to name you Mississippi, Qinya. Miss, please wait a moment. As he spoke, the guard went to register and soon returned. Xiao Yi himself also came out to greet him. Xiao Xiao Yi smiled and greeted. Tosha. Qinya smiled gently. Xiao Yi hurriedly invited Qinya into the house. The two of them walked into the courtyard of Xiao mansion, and while listening to the sound of flowing water, Qinya said, Xiao Xiao, the environment here is really unique. It's alright, these are all the masterpieces of the wives. Xiao Yi followed beside Qinya. If one were to observe carefully, Xiao Yi's attitude was that of accompanying Qinya, and not that of a master. Even Qinya was able to sense this point. Xiao Xiao is so fortunate to have so many wives. Qinya smiled and said, Fortunately, Yi Hua isn't like this. Xiao Yi said, This Xiao's luck is rather good to be able to obtain their love. So Qing, how about we go inside and have a cup of tea? Qinya nodded her head. Soon after, the two of them arrived at the main hall. Shu Nan personally brewed tea and served it, and when Xiao Yi's wives found out that Qinya had come, they all came out to greet Qinya. The topic of conversation revolved around the trivial matters of the family, and Xiao Yi was curious about the meaning behind Qinya's sudden visit. Looking at Yu Qi's bulging belly, Qinya said to Xiao Yi, Congratulations to Xiao Xiao for becoming a father. Xiao Yi was naturally happy. This child is very mischievous. Qinya touched her belly, and this action of hers was seen by Shu Nan. Xiao Qing is pregnant? Qinya appeared to be very happy as she nodded her head slightly. That's right, I have been pregnant for a few months already. It was only recently that my belly had a big reaction. Congratulations to Xiao Qing. I wish that you will be blessed with a child. Same to you. Qinya said courteously. When the topic of conversation reached here, everyone seemed to be a bit awkward and didn't know what to say. Meanwhile, Qinya discovered a strange matter. Why is Nangong Sini missing from Xiao Yi's wives? So Xiao, where did Madame Nangong go? Why don't I see her? When Qinya said that, the expressions of Xiao Yi and his wives froze. Qinya was very sensitive right now, and she immediately discovered the strangeness in their expressions. Could it be that something happened to Nangong Sini? Suddenly, a female servant appeared with a child. Daddy, let's go and play football. The child was precisely Xiao Yi's son, Xiao Yun. Xiao Yi revealed out a loving smile. Yun, there is a guest at home. This is Aunt Qing. Xiao Yun was very courteous as he shouted towards Qinya, Hello, Aunt Qing. This child looks really good. Qinya asked with a smile, Whose child is this? Shu Nan said with a smile, This is big sister Nangong's child. Qinya waved her hand, and Xiao Yun walked in front of Qinya. I feel that this ant in front of me is really beautiful. Little fellow, where did your mother go? Qinya asked curiously. Xiao Yun's little face collapsed. Daddy said that mommy went out on a business trip, and it will be a long time before she comes back. After finished speaking, Xiao Yun immediately missed his mother. He pounced into his father's embrace and shouted, Daddy Yun misses mommy, can you bring me to see mommy? The corner of Xiao Yi's mouth slightly trembled, and his complexion was very abnormal. Yu Qi bring Yun down to sleep. Xiao Yi said gravely. Xiao Yun immediately started bawling loudly, clamoring for his mother. Only after a few maids came over and carried Xiao Yun away did the bawling sound not stop. Right now, Qinya was very sure that something happened to Nangong Sini, and Xiao Yi had sealed this matter. Xiao Xiao, actually, I came here today because I have a matter that I want to ask you. Qinya said. Xiao Yi nodded his head. Qinya asked faintly, that 50 billion from back then, why did you suddenly return it? Why did you return it? The memories of everyone in Xiao family were pulled back to that night. Facing against the incomparably valiant skeleton, what else could they do? Not only did they have to return the money, they also had to return a life. To Xiao Yi, the blow that night was too heavy. His beloved was forced to death by the skeleton, and what was laughable was that in the end, he still went to beg them, and even helped his enemy. Thinking about such a matter, Xiao Yi clenched his fists tightly, and spiritual energy gradually spread out from his body. At the same time, spiritual energy was also emitted out from his body. Cough, cough, cough. Shu Nan lightly coughed a few times, reminding her husband to be careful. Chapter 341. Xiao Yi gradually retracted his fierce aura, but from Qinya's point of view, this was all an act. Even the words that he was going to say later were all fake. CEO Qing, regarding the matter last time, this Xiao is sorry, I did not fulfill my promise in time, this Xiao is ashamed, I hope that CEO Qing can be magnanimous enough to forgive me. With that, Xiao Yi even stood up and cupped his hands, expressing his apology. My money is gone, my beloved wife was forced to death, I still have to be ordered by the enemy, and now, I still have to apologize for this matter. What is going on with this world? Qinya was originally just curious, wanting to see what kind of tricks Yi Hua played to make those people who looked down on her change their temperament. Of course, she was happy in her heart. After all, Yi Hua did it all for her, not letting her get hurt or be looked down upon by others. Having a husband who cared about her like this, Qinya felt that she was very happy. But from the looks of it now, the matter doesn't seem to be that simple. Thinking of Yi Hua's strength, could it be that he used violence? The Xiao family had used violence, and the others had been frightened. Qinya didn't want to continue asking, because she was afraid of finding out some bad things. After all, the awakening of her bloodline made her have a strange pity or benevolence. This Queen Nuwa's duty was to protect the common people. She wouldn't be soft-hearted towards evil, but towards the weak, she would feel pity. Thus, Qinya didn't want to continue asking. She stood up and said with a smile, Xiao Xiao must be joking, that is all in the past, I still have some matters at home, I won't disturb you anymore. CEO Qing, I will send you out. Xiao Yi forced a smile and said. Qinya nodded her head. However, just as Qinya was about to leave, Yu Qi suddenly knelt on the ground and begged, Xiao Qing, please save our Xiao family. A pregnant woman knelt on the ground and begged. This made Qinya, who was preparing to leave, change her expression. Just what happened to make these people so hesitant? Looking at the panic on their faces, it was as if they had received a huge shock. What are you doing? Quickly get up. Xiao Yi shouted coldly. Yu Qi's action was no less than self-immolation. The current situation was very clear. Qinya didn't know about those matters at all. If the mastermind was the bar's boss, then he would have concealed it. But with this kneeling, everything would be exposed. Then why did the boss have to conceal it? Wasn't it just because he was afraid that Qinya would know some shady matters? If this matter was exposed, the Xiao family would face terrifying consequences. Xiao Yi and Shu Nan did not dare to continue thinking about it. But what could Yu Qi do? She was just an ordinary woman who was pregnant with a child. During this period of time, she was on tenterhooks, afraid that what happened that night would happen again. It didn't matter if she died. She was worried about her child. As a mother, it wasn't wrong to plead for the life of the child in her womb, right? Yu Qi, get up. Shu Nen tried to persuade her. Stop talking. Yu Qi, who was always on tenterhooks, was actually a bit depressed. She directly kneeled in front of Qingya and grabbed onto Qingya's ankle. Xiao Qing, I beg you to spare my child's life, he is innocent. Xiao Yi shouted in a deep voice, bring Yu Qi to her room to rest. All the lovely wives stood up, and suddenly all knelt on the ground, and begged with their tender voices, Xiao Qing, please let our Xiao family go. Xiao Yi and Shu Nan were both stunned. Just like Yu Qi, Xiao Yi's other wives were also very worried. They were afraid that something would happen to their husbands. Now that Qingya was here, they had no choice but to try their best. They thought that as long as they begged Qingya, they wouldn't make things difficult for Xiao family. But what they didn't know was that Yi Hua didn't say anything about this matter, and he didn't plan to say anything. To Yi Hua at that time, not massacring Xiao family was already very lenient, and he even felt that there was no need to say such a small matter. Looking at the actions of Xiao Yi's wives, Qingya's eyebrows wrinkled deeply. Just what did Yi Hua do to make them kneel on the ground and beg for mercy? No wonder Xiao Yi's attitude was so good, now I finally know. All of you get up. Qingya said gravely. All the lovely wives were crying non-stop. That kind of pressure of living under a haze every day made their hearts hurt. Qingya sat on the chair at the side, while Xiao Yi sat on the main seat with a gloomy face. What else can we do now? We have already been exposed, we can only rely on Qingya now. Just what happened? Qingya asked faintly. Everyone remained silent and looked at Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi took a deep breath, then opened his bloodshot eyes and said, this matter has to start from that bet. Qingya nodded her head, that is indeed the case. CEO Qing, I didn't want to pay back the money that bet, which was why someone came to my door and fought with me. In the end, I still lost. Not only did I pay back the money, I also paid back a person's life. Xiao Yi said it very casually, but when he thought of his beloved wife's death, his heart felt as if it was being twisted by a knife. Qingya was very shocked and said in disbelief, a person's life is Nangong Sinis? Xiao Yi nodded his head. My beloved wife was forced to her death. He said that this was the interest, and he wanted me to choose one of my women to die with. The crying sound of women rang out in the hall. The situation back then was so sad and helpless, and they could only watch helplessly as Nangong Sini fell in front of them. Qingya was very shocked. It is normal to ask for a debt, but to force a person to her death, I am a little unable to tolerate this kind of method. Who is the person that you all are talking about? Qingya's question was a little nervous. Please don't say it is Yi Hua. Yi Hua would never do such a heinous thing. Xiao Yi didn't speak carelessly. It is a skeleton that is wearing a black robe. Qingya let out a breath of relief. Fortunately, it is not Yi Hua. Although my Yi Hua likes to act cool, he is not to the extent of doing such a thing. There is also a lump of black fog. Yu Qi added. A lump of black fog? Qingya asked puzzledly. Xiao Yi explained, that lump of black fog seems to be the owner of the black robe. Xiao Yi hurriedly shut his mouth. I can't say any more. What happened to them? Qingya asked coldly. They are very strong, but they seem to be obeying someone. Right now, Xiao Yi could only place all of his hopes on Qingya. Even if Xiao Yi didn't say it, Qingya would be able to guess it. After all, Yi Hua had taken out those transfer agreements back then, and the person behind the black robe should be Yi Hua. Right now, Qingya's mood was very complicated, and she didn't know what to do. Why would Yi Hua use such a method to step on someone's debt? Is this still the Yi Hua that I know? Doesn't he just like to smoke, drink, and brag? Why would he choose to force a woman to her death? What about a mother? Qingya was really unable to understand. Did this black robe do anything else? Qingya asked gravely. Withdrawing from the aristocratic family selection this time was also the black robe's order. Xiao Yi said bluntly, why don't you talk about the matter of the black robe helping you? Do you know the consequences of this? Chapter 342. I heard that this black gown even did something improper to Cloud's sect master, causing Cloud's sect master to be chased out of the sect. When an ancient godly item appeared in the south, the black gown was also present. Illicit affairs? Qin Ya's expression sunk. Not only did Yi Hua's subordinate force a mother to death, he even harmed a woman? Is this matter related to Yi Hua or not? Is it his subordinate's misbehavior, or did he get Yi Hua's permission? Qin Ya would rather believe that the black gown was the one who did it, and that Yi Hua didn't know about it at all. I understand, you guys can be at ease. Qin Ya seemed to have a lot on her mind, and after finished speaking, she walked out of the hall. Xiao Yi hurriedly followed after her and sent Qin Ya out. Looking at Qin Ya leaving, Xiao Yi's thoughts were very complicated. I really don't know if this matter is right or wrong. I feel that Xiao family's fate is hanging in the balance once again. Qin Ya didn't directly return home. Instead, she bought a roast duck before returning home. Big sister, why did you take so long to buy a roast duck? We are about to starve to death. Qin Yutong hugged onto Dong Huangli and played around. The two mothers shook their heads. They are already so old, yet they are acting like children. Aunt Qin, Ali's stomach is about to shrivel up. Dong Huangli rubbed onto her stomach and said while giggling. Qin Ya smiled. Quickly let Aunt touch your stomach. There was a traffic jam on the road just now, so I was late. Qin Yutong rolled her eyes at her big sister. You already gambled for 2 hours. You couldn't have met your lover, right? Qin Ya knocked onto her little sister's head. Just eat your roast duck. Zihan's eyes shone. Could it be that I went to meet Chen Xuanzong just now? I already bought a roast duck as my name. That's great. Qin Ya, who returned home, seemed very normal. There wasn't the slightest bit of abnormality. Because right now, Qin Ya felt that Yi Hua was wronged. He wouldn't do such a thing. However, she didn't dare to question Yi Hua directly, fearing that she would get a different answer. If that happened, she really wouldn't know what to do. This damned bloodline effect. Time passed by just like this, day after day. A week passed by in the blink of an eye. Yi Tai and Song Huang were still nowhere to be found. No one knew where they went. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. This made the Yi family's clan leader, Yi Xiao, feel a little uneasy. Meanwhile, Voidless Realm also released the results of the selection, and Voidless Realm allowed Tang family to participate in the selection. This caused Bai family to go crazy from anger. In order to avoid any casualties, Voidless Realm warned Tang family and Bai family that before the results of the election were revealed, fighting was not allowed, and those who violated the rules would be eliminated from the election. To the Tang clan, this was a good thing. But to the Bai clan, it was like adding snow to snow. Originally, Qin Ya had said that she would be able to go back in a week, but even after Qin Yutong had urged her to go back a few times, Qin Ya still said that she would be accompanying her parents, and in actuality, Qin Ya didn't dare to go back. Recently, Yi Zizi had become a lot more well-behaved. Yi Zizi was not late for school, and after school ended, she would go home. Yi Zizi also did not cause any trouble in school. This made Yi Hua rather happy. Yi Zizi had grown up. However, right now, Yi Hua was a bit gloomy. This Qin Ya doesn't even plan to return to her maiden home. However, with Donghuang Baiji accompanying Yi Hua every single day, Yi Hua's mood became slightly better. Just that, the plan to give birth to a child has yet to be carried out. Right now, Yi Hua wasn't anxious, but Donghuang Baiji was anxious. At least twice a day, she would ask Yi Hua, when are we going to have a child? Yi Hua was very smug. Look at how the Empress is begging for a child right now, yet I, the Supreme Overlord, refuse to give it to you. On this day, Yi Hua couldn't take it anymore. He took out his phone and gave a call to Qin Ya. You have to come back today, if not, I will go and catch you. Yi Hua gave a death order. I haven't seen Qin Ya for almost half a month, and I am starting to miss her. Hearing Yi Hua's familiar voice, Qin Ya said tenderly, all right, we will come back today. That's more like it. We will be having crayfish tonight. Qin Ya. After keeping his phone, Yi Hua laughed lightly. His mood was pretty good. After watching TV for a while, he went to pick up Qin Ya from the airport. Donghuang Baiji walked behind Yi Hua, then stretched out her slender hand and placed onto Yihua's shoulder. "Qingya, are you going to come back? And if you don't come back, I will have to catch you." Yihua smiled faintly. Donghuang Baiji said gently, "All right, I'm jealous." "Oh? Empress is jealous? I want to see what she looks like." Hateful. After speaking, Yihua hugged the Empress in his embrace and started to take liberties with her. Meanwhile, the Empress was very vexed. This Yihua only ignites the fire, but doesn't extinguish the fire. Knowing that she was going to return home, Donghuangli appeared to be very happy. "I have had enough of staying in Zijin City for the past few days, and I miss my daddy and mommy. With regards to my 2 daughters wanting to return south, there is nothing I can do about it." Zi Han and Wang Muqing sent their daughters to the airport and were reluctant to part with them. "The next time I come back will be during Chinese New Year, right?" On the other side, Yihua and Donghuang Baiji arrived at Long and City's airport to pick up Qingya. When Yihua saw the 3 of them walking out of the airport, a faint smile appeared on Yihua's face. After not seeing Qingya for almost half a month, Qingya is still so beautiful. "Daddy, Mommy," upon seeing her parents, Donghuangli sprinted over like a little Superman and directly threw herself into Yihua's embrace. While carrying his daughter, Yihua asked lightly, "Has Ali been obedient these few days?" Ali has been very obedient." After speaking, Ali kissed her father, then stretched out her hands towards her mother. Donghuang Baiji took over her daughter, and both mother and daughter were very affectionate towards each other. Meanwhile, Yihua looked towards Qingya. "Why aren't you coming into my embrace yet?" Qingya slowly walked to the front of Qingya, then hugged onto her husband's body and said tenderly, "Yihua, I missed you so much." This was probably the longest time the two had been apart. Lightly hugging onto Qingya, Yihua said tenderly, "I missed you too." Hearing Yihua's tone, Qingya felt a bit more at ease. After all, a man who is in love will not do that kind of thing. Qing Yutong, who was standing at the side, was very unhappy. Why isn't there anyone welcoming the baby? It was too inhumane. Seeing that his sister-in-law was standing at the side gloomily, Yihua let go of his wife and hugged his sister-in-law. "Don't misunderstand, this is just brother-in-law's love for his sister-in-law. I, the supreme overlord, never lie." Qing Yutong became happy. "I didn't get spanked by my brother-in-law for nothing," and immediately gave Qing Yutong a hug. Yihua took a look at the men in the surroundings and sneered in his heart. "My luck with women is not something that you all can enjoy." The surrounding men who took the opportunity were very envious. This beauty was hugged by the same man. God was unfair. Yihua expressed that the effect of acting cool was not bad, and it was about time for him to go back. "Come on, let's go home." His left hand was holding onto Qingya, his right hand was holding onto the Empress, and behind him was his sister-in-law. "I am a winner in life." If anyone was dissatisfied, they could step forward and ask for guidance. "I will teach you a lesson every minute." When Yihua returned back to Qingya Bar, it was already 7 p.m. Yihua knew that Qingya was going to come back soon, and thus, he decided to close the bar for the night. Yihua and his family were going to have a good meal together and enjoy this moment of reunion. When Qing Yutong saw Yi Zizi, who was wearing the school uniform, she immediately became furious. That smug look on Yi Zizi's face made even Yihua want to spank her, but let alone Yi Zizi herself. Chapter 343. Daddy, I want more meat, more meat. Right now, Donghuangli didn't even bother to peel the crayfish and directly finished off 2 big pieces of meat. Yihua drank the wine and said faintly, "Ali, you can't eat too much of this kind of meat." Donghuangli pouted her small mouth and wrinkled her brows. Donghuangli seemed to be saying that if you don't give it to me, I will cry. Of course, Yihua wouldn't spoil Ali too much. After all, Ali was still young, and Ali could only eat in moderation. Seeing that her daddy was really not going to give her any more, Donghuangli looked towards Qing Yutong and said, "Aunt Qing, give some to Ali." After finished speaking, Qing Yutong even picked up the plate and placed it in front of Qing Yutong, causing everyone to laugh endlessly. "Ali, you have to listen to Daddy's words." Aunt Qing also came over like this. Next time, eat slower, and once you get used to it, you will be fine. Qing Yutong said with a smile, while protecting the meat on the plate. Stingy, Dong Huang Li pouted her small mouth and looked towards her mommy. Dong Huang Baiji naturally loved her daughter dearly, and just when she was about to give her daughter some, Yihua said faintly, Baiji. Since her husband had already spoken, Dong Huang Baiji was powerless to help. At the same time, she also knew that although the meat was good, it must be eaten in moderation. At the same time, Dong Huang Baiji was able to understand that Dong Huang Baiji shouldn't spoil the child too much. Dong Huang Li became even more depressed. Li is angry, the kind that can't be coaxed. Everyone ignored him. A few minutes later, Dong Huang Li could only acquiesce to the fact that Dong Huang Li was right. Dong Huang Li began peeling the crayfish, then began fawning on her daddy and mommy in various ways. Yihua was very gratified. My daughter is still sensible. Qingya, did anything happen during the past few days? Yihua asked. Qingya placed the prawn meat into Yihua's bowl and said tenderly, No, I just brought Ali to walk around. That old friend of yours didn't come to look for you? What Yihua mainly wanted to ask was this. After all, the title of Jealous King in the cultivation world isn't just randomly given. Qingya laughed lightly. With a jealous king like you around, who would dare to look for me? Qingya, pay attention to your words, I am just concerned about you. Yihua said faintly. Jealous? Will I be jealous? Stop daydreaming. Even if this old man collapses, I, the Supreme Overlord, will not feel jealous. Alright, I am concerned about you. Qingya smiled helplessly. Seeing that Yi Zizi had become taciturn, Qingya asked curiously, Zizi, is going to school fun? I'm very happy, Yi Zizi said quietly. This sentence was too fake. At least smile. Ali wants to go to school too, and in the future, she wants to become a doctor. Dong Huang Li shouted out. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. Why do you want to become a doctor? Because Ali wants to save the dying and heal the injured. Hearing that, Yihua felt that it was inappropriate. My daughter doesn't need to be saved. However, when Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji heard Dong Huang Baiji's words, the two wives felt very gratified. Yihua said indifferently, What's so good about being a doctor? In the future, Daddy will bring you along to conquer the world. Sure enough, upon hearing that, Dong Huang Li became very excited. Daddy, when are we going to conquer the world? When Ali grows up, we'll go. Dong Huang Baiji smiled. All right, Yihua, Ali is still so young, there's no need to teach her these things. This child will have to be picked up from when he is young. You all don't have to worry about him anymore. Yihua put on the airs of the head of a family. Everything will be decided by me. Using Yihua's words, the two of you will be responsible for taking good care of me, while I will stay at home and teach the child how to conquer the world. Speaking of the matter regarding the child, Qingya wanted to express her opinion. Yihua, Ali is still young right now, don't teach her some dangerous techniques. If an accident were to happen, the innocent would be harmed. Dong Huang Baiji still didn't know about this matter, and she asked confusedly, What technique? Dong Huang Li began showing off as deviant flames appeared on all 10 of her fingers. Mommy, is it nice? Dong Huang Baiji was startled. Sensing the terrifying aura coming from the deviant flames, she hurriedly said, Ali, quickly put it away. Dong Huang Li silently put away the deviant flames. Why do Mommy and the others have this kind of expression when they see my techniques? Daddy is the only one who looks happy. Yihua, this is too dangerous. If Ali isn't able to control it properly, something might happen. Dong Huang Baiji couldn't help but mention this matter. To actually secretly teach Ali this technique. This deviant flame is an area of effect attack. If a child were to be able to control it properly, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yihua said faintly, Ali is able to control it very well, I am very reassured. And Ali is very smart. Dong Huang Li also wanted to make her mommy happy, just like how a student who scored 100 marks on a test wanted to be praised by their parents. Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows and said, Ali, in the future, you can't casually use this technique, do you understand? Baiji, why can't Ali use this technique? Yehua asked gravely. My technique is bad? Donghuang Baiji explained, Yehua, Ali is still young right now, don't teach her this kind of dangerous technique. What if someone gets hurt? Yehua placed down his chopsticks and said gravely, what's wrong with me teaching my child a powerful technique? This is also to allow Ali to have the ability to protect herself. Why can't it be used by you too? Daddy, Mommy, don't fight, Ali doesn't need to use this technique in the future. Seeing that her parents were fighting because of her, Donghuang Li hurriedly persuaded. Yehua looked at his daughter and said faintly, Ali, don't be afraid. Use it when it's time, don't let others think that we are easy to bully. Yehua, how can you teach your child like this? Donghuang Baiji shouted out. Yehua was clearly trying to turn his child into a demon king. This was something that Donghuang Baiji wouldn't allow. After all, Donghuang Baiji was a big shot in the north, and her responsibility was to stabilize all of the powers in the north and prevent large-scale casualties from occurring. Her goal was not much different from Nuwa's bloodline, which was to maintain the stability of the common people. This was also the philosophy that Donghuang Baiji had been instilled with since young. Donghuang Baiji naturally hoped that her daughter would inherit the family's tradition and do more good deeds, and not do evil deeds. However, what Yehua said just now was precisely preparing to teach his daughter to become a bad girl. In actuality, Donghuang Baiji was thinking too lightly. Yehua was preparing to teach his daughter to become a real queen and let everyone worship her. He wasn't going to become a doctor. All right, I don't want to argue with you too, and you two don't need to care about Ali's education. Yehua said coldly. I was originally going to eat happily, but you two just had to make me unhappy. Qinya, who had been silent the entire time, said lightly, Yehua, I feel that for the sake of Ali's education, we should discuss it properly. There's nothing to discuss. Yehua shouted out gravely. What's wrong with these two women today? Why are they going against me again? It has only been peaceful for a few days. Daddy, Mommy, you two are angry. It's fine as long as Ali is obedient. Donghuang Li was so anxious that her eyes had turned red. Big sister, brother-in-law, we can slowly discuss about the child's education. Don't be anxious, don't get angry. Qin Yutong hurriedly persuaded. Originally, I thought that the appearance of a love rival would make brother-in-law angry, but I didn't expect that the two of them would have a disagreement because of the child. This seems to be even more troublesome. As a supreme overlord, brother-in-law will definitely look at things differently. Big sister and Baiji are both kind-hearted people. How can they possibly allow their child to become a demon king? In actuality, Yehua didn't want to argue with them either. Chapter 344. What was supposed to be a joyous occasion had instantly turned sour, and the atmosphere was a little depressing. Yehua appeared to be very irritated. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji remained silent as well. Right now, Qin Yutong and Yi Zizi were even more unwilling to anger Yehua. Donghuang Li was scared. She feared that her daddy and mommy would quarrel with each other like how they used to. After a while, Qinya suggested, Yehua, I feel that we should have a family meeting. Seconded. Donghuang Baiji indeed wanted to talk about the issue of having a child. After all, this matter was related to the future, and thus, she had to settle this matter. Yehua also felt that he had to talk about this problem properly, thus he said gravely, all right. Soon after, Qin Yutong said to Qin Yutong, Yutong, bring Zizi and Ali upstairs first. Qin Yutong nodded her head, you two can discuss it properly, as long as the family is harmonious, everything will prosper. After warning Donghuang Li, Qin Yutong went upstairs with Donghuang Li. Yi Zizi silently followed behind Donghuang Li, and Yi Zizi had a lifeless look on her face. The three sat in front of the dining table, and Yehua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. What do you guys want to say? As Donghuang Li's mother, Donghuang Baiji took the lead and said, Yehua, can you leave the problem of Ali's education to me? As Ali's father, can I teach him? Yehua asked gravely. Today, I will definitely let them know that my words are not to be doubted. Donghuang Baiji wrinkled her brows. However, the things that you are teaching are not helpful to the child's growth. In fact, it might even cause Ali to walk down a path of no return. During this period of time, Chinya had been thinking for a very long time, especially the problem of her child's education. In a few months' time, I am going to give birth to my child. I have to prepare early. Yihua, how about this? Can you hand over the child's education to us? Chinya also wanted to properly discuss with Yihua, and she naturally didn't want to quarrel with Yihua. Are you saying that I can't teach children? Yihua questioned. Yihua's anger was also slowly rising, making me seem like a sinner, to the point where I am not even allowed to touch the child. Chinya said earnestly, it's fine for you to tell us those fallacious reasoning of yours, but when it comes to the child's growth, it's not good. That's right. Donghuang Baiji answered. Bang. Yihua fiercely slammed onto the table and said coldly, how am I distorting logic? This is a world where the weak are prey to the strong. What do you want to teach your children? A weak philanthropist? At the very least, it is better than a demon that does no evil. Donghuang Baiji said faintly. When these words fell into Yihua's ears, it was as if Yihua was scolding him in a roundabout way, because Yihua was this kind of person in the past. Enough. Yihua shouted out angrily. Chinya and Donghuang Baiji's bodies trembled. They didn't know why Yihua suddenly got angry. This is just a discussion about children, there is nothing wrong with it. The two wives didn't refute Yihua's anger, because they didn't want to quarrel over this matter. However, they still wanted to fight for it. Chinya begged in a low voice, Yihua, can you consider it for a bit? There's no need to think about it, this matter is decided, the family meeting will end here. Yihua said coldly, then stood up and prepared to go upstairs. Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh, appearing to be very dispirited. Everything about Yihua is good, just that he is too overbearing. I have to listen to him for everything, and if I don't listen to him, he will get angry. What's going on with the Xiao family? Yihua, who was preparing to leave, suddenly stopped his footsteps, then turned his head around and looked towards Chinya. What did you say? Chinya asked calmly, how did you get that money back then? Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, revealed a puzzled look. After all, back then she wasn't present yet, thus she didn't know about these matters. Yihua let out a breath, then said indifferently, didn't I tell you in the past that I asked someone to go and get the money back? Just go and get the money back? Chinya asked faintly. In actuality, she was also very nervous in her heart. She didn't want Yihua to be related to Nangong Sini's death. Yihua looked at Chinya and asked gravely, Chinya, what exactly are you trying to say? Is that Nangong Sini's death related to you? Chinya asked, her heart was in her throat. Yihua naturally remembered that Nangong Sini, then said gravely, if you have something to say, just say it, don't beat around the bush. I heard that it was your subordinate who forced Nangong Sini to death, and he is only collecting interest. Is this what you requested, or did he do it on his own? Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, was startled. There was actually such a thing? Yihua looked at Chinya in disbelief. What does this mean? Is she here to blame me? His anger that had originally calmed down immediately soared. That's right. It is what I requested. It is only right and proper for someone to repay their debt. Back then, I gave them 3 days of time, and it was they who didn't cherish it. I am already giving them a lot of face by not killing their entire family. Yihua didn't have any intention to hide anything from Yihua. Right now, he didn't want to hide anything, there was no need for him to do so. After hearing the answer, Chinya revealed a disappointed look. I didn't expect that it was really Yihua's order, and my mind was in a bit of a mess. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baiji didn't know what to say, and thus, she remained silent. Looking at Chinya's disappointed look, Yihua felt very uncomfortable in his heart as he asked, Chinya, are you blaming me? I shouldn't have treated them like that? Chinya didn't mean it like that, and she said tenderly, Yihua, although they are in the wrong, we can still talk about it. There is no need to force a child's mother to death. After hearing what Chinya said, Yihua sneered, Chinya, are you blaming me for killing the innocent? Yihua, I am not blaming you, I just hope that in the future, you can think from another perspective and not let your emotions affect your decisions. Qinya persuaded attentively. In actuality, she just didn't want to see Yihua killing people indiscriminately, just like how Yihua was asking for a debt. If Yihua killed Xiao Yi, Qinya wouldn't have anything to say about it. However, if Yihua killed an innocent mother, Qinya would have no choice but to tell her husband not to do such a thing in the future. Qinya, you are truly too naive. If I was slightly weaker, do you think that Xiao Yi would let me off? Do you think that he would let you off? Let me tell you. He wouldn't, he would even use the same method to make me suffer. How could Qinya not know what Yihua was thinking? Qinya said faintly, Yihua, I know what you are trying to say. Let's not do those shameful things, alright? Qinya would rather see Yihua openly go and look for his enemy than to see Yihua secretly torturing his enemy using innocent people. You are saying that I am shameful. This time, Yihua was really angered by Qinya. Donghuang Baiji hurriedly said, Yihua, Qinya didn't mean it like that, you misunderstood her. Didn't your subordinate, the black robe, violate a sect master? Qinya didn't like Yihua being like this. It is obvious that I am in the wrong, yet I am still acting as if I am in the right. Donghuang Baiji was very astonished. Yihua's subordinate violated a sect master? The two wives looked at Yihua with a questioning gaze at the same time. Yihua's heart turned cold. In your eyes, am I that kind of person? To think that I, the supreme overlord, had to put in so much effort to save the two of you. Yihua let out an ice-cold voice and said, If I were to say that they are currently in love with each other, would you believe me? The two wives didn't say anything. It was clear that they didn't believe him. At this moment, Yihua's heart seemed to have been deeply pierced by the two women in front of him. As wives, they don't even believe in their husband's words. Just how disappointing is this? Chapter 345. Yihua sat on the chair, and a vicious aura was being emitted out from his body. This caused Qinya and Donghuang Baiji to be very worried, but there was nothing they could do. No matter what, I have to make Yihua change a little and stop treating human life as a game. Right now, Yihua was very disappointed in Qinya and Donghuang Baiji, extremely disappointed. As my wife, not only did they not do their duty well, they even helped an outsider to reprimand me? They didn't even believe his words. This was absolutely intolerable. Don't expect me to put on a show again, that's absolutely impossible. Last time I was at fault, and in order to redeem myself, I admitted it. But this time, don't even think about it. The three of them sat in the hall and did not speak, and Yihua was smoking one cigarette after another. After quite a while, space distorted, and Death Mage and Sun Fang appeared at the scene. Gigi, Royal Translator, Boss. Sun Fang also greeted respectfully, Boss. Wei Chang had already instructed them to skip the honorific and just call him Boss. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji looked towards the black robe. They never expected that the black robe would actually be a skeleton. His hair stood on end. Dare I ask, how did a skeleton humiliate the beauty beside him? Both Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. Go ahead and ask. Yihua said coldly. Sun Fang said to the two ladies, Madams, I am Sun Fang, the previous sect master of Cloud Sect. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were very puzzled. Why would such a beautiful woman be on good terms with a skeleton? This isn't an act, right? Madams, you can ask me if you have any questions. It needs to type to speak, so it's rather slow, Sun Fang said softly. Death Mage took out his phone and typed a few words, then showed his phone. I can't talk. This time, the two women were even more shocked. A skeleton that couldn't speak, how could there be such a woman? What was wrong with this world? Qinya looked towards the angry Yihua and felt that her brain wasn't enough to process what was going on. Sun Fang, did he violate you before? Qinya asked curiously. Sun Fang nodded. Yes. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji's expression immediately changed. However, Sun Fang continued, however, I did it voluntarily. The two girls were embarrassed. Seeing the two madams' confusion, Sun Fang naturally knew that back in the Ying family, There were many people who had the same question. Why did such a beautiful person end up with a skeleton? Sun Fang actually wanted to say that the little skeleton's body was tough and she couldn't beat it in any way. The two madams must be very puzzled. Actually, I don't know why I like skeletons either. He doesn't even have a single piece of meat on his body. Even when I hug him, he's stiff. But it can make me laugh and make me feel better. Isn't this the feeling that we women have always wanted? Love knows no race. Although it sometimes angers me, it can quickly coax me. I still have to praise it for this. Looking at the blissful smile on Sun Fang's face, the two women felt that she wasn't lying, but they still couldn't believe it. Look at others, then look at yourselves. Yi Hua, who was sitting at the side, said coldly, "How good is my subordinate's wife? My subordinate's wife and my subordinate's wife are so loving and have never quarreled with each other. Looking at my own wife, I really can't compare her with my subordinate's wife." Alright, regarding this matter, Qingye felt that she had misunderstood Yi Hua. She finally let out a sigh of relief in her heart. After all, Yi Hua didn't help the evildoer. However, Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, said with a taut face, "Yi Hua, I have always wanted to ask you, how did you get those things in the storage room?" Last time, when Donghuang Baiji saw those things, she was very shocked. However, in the end, she didn't ask about it anymore. During this period of time, she had been too sweet and had forgotten about it. Now that she remembered about it, she decided to ask about it. Yi Hua pointed at Death Mage. "He sent them over." Donghuang Baiji looked towards Death Mage and asked, "How did you get those betrothal gifts?" Death Mage was very honest. After all, it was the madam who asked about it. Death Mage typed on his phone, and soon after, his phone lit up. 2 words. Snatched. After taking a look, Yi Hua said faintly, "Well snatched." GGG, Imperial Translation, "Thank you, Your Honor, for your praise." Donghuang Baiji's face immediately sunk as she asked, "Where is he?" Death Mage continued typing. It was still 2 words. Yi Hua said faintly, "Well killed. My husband's men killed my subordinates?" My husband was still cheering at the side. Donghuang Baiji shouted out, "Yi Hua, aren't you going to explain yourself?" Yi Hua stood up and looked at Donghuang Baiji. "What do you want me to explain? Without my permission, you actually went to send betrothal gifts. Fortunately, my subordinates coincidentally snatched the betrothal gifts. If not, you would have given me a green hat." After hearing what Yi Hua said, Donghuang Baiji was actually speechless. However, she still felt uncomfortable in her heart. "But your subordinates killed my subordinates. Baiji, if you didn't go and send betrothal gifts, would your subordinates have died? Could it be that you want my subordinates to take the blame?" Yi Hua shouted out coldly. He didn't look like a madam at all. Donghuang Baiji stared at Yi Hua, seemingly wanting Yi Hua to give her an explanation. "In any case, I am the Empress of Voidless Realm. Since my subordinates died in vain, I should at least seek justice for them, right?" In actuality, if Yi Hua were to apologize right now, everything would be fine. With just a bit of cowardice, the 2 beauties would be in his arms again. However, this time, Yi Hua wouldn't pamper them anymore. "Baiji, what kind of expression is that? Could it be that you want me to punish my subordinates?" Yi Hua shouted out sternly. "Shouldn't it be?" Donghuang Baiji asked back. Yi Hua could be considered to be quite angered by the 2 women today. He said gravely, "Qingye, Baiji, let me tell the 2 of you, that is impossible. There is no need for me, Yi Hua, to ask the 2 of you what I do." "You!" Donghuang Baiji was also angered by Yi Hua. Qingye pulled onto Donghuang Baiji and said lightly to Yi Hua, "Yi Hua, can we both calm down for a bit?" "Calm down? I will never calm down in my entire life. I will do whatever I have to do." Seeing that Yi Hua's emotions were very great, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji discussed with each other in a low voice. In the end, Qingye said, "Yi Hua, Baiji and I will go to Voidless Realm to stay for a period of time. You should properly think about it. After thinking it through, come to Voidless Realm and look for us." Yi Hua was angered to the point that he laughed. You two want to leave again? You two are truly treating my doting as donkey's liver and lungs. Yi Hua shouted out coldly, Fine. All of you scram. Do you all really think that I will die without the two of you? Seeing Yi Hua acting like this, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji couldn't bear to see Yi Hua acting like this. After all, Yi Hua had sacrificed a lot for them. However, Yi Hua truly had a lot of bad habits. For the sake of the future, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji felt that there was a need for Yi Hua to properly think about it. Donghuang Baiji said calmly, Yi Hua, I will bring Ali back to Voidless Realm first. After you think it through, come and bring us back. Yi Hua, there are actually a lot of things that can be properly solved. Qinya persuaded tenderly. Yi Hua stamped on the cigarette but and said gravely, Qinya, Baiji, I will prove to the two of you that those theories of yours are completely bullsh*t. Seeing that Yi Hua was still acting like this, the two women let out a sigh, then disappeared from the hall. Seeing that his wives had disappeared, Yi Hua picked up the wine bottle and smashed it onto the ground. Those two foolish women really left. Chapter 346. Death Mage and Sun Fang also left silently. Right now, His Honor's mood is definitely not good. I heard that His Honor would threaten his subordinates to break up with him for no reason at all. Right now, His Honor is not having a good time, and His Honor will definitely not let this subordinate have a good time. Brother-in-law, Li was taken away by her mother. Qing Yutong suddenly ran over. Got it, do as you wish. Yi Hua shouted out gravely. That? What about my big sister? Qing Yutong asked weakly. All of them ran away from home. After finished speaking, Yi Hua lit a cigarette and went upstairs. Sitting on the sofa in the office, Yi Hua decided on one thing. I'm going to let them see that the so-called mercy is actually just a joke. In actuality, Yi Hua should be rejoicing. This was only a small part of the secret that was discovered by Qinya. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji would never say that they would wait for you. However, that was no longer important. Yi Hua extinguished the cigarette butt, and his gaze was deep and eerie. I, the Supreme Overlord, want you all to beg me to come back. I will also let you know that there is no such thing as mercy in this world. With the caress of the large hand, the office began to distort and gradually turned into another scene. No one knew when the sofa had turned into a throne, but this was a throne piled up with skeletons. Among them were human skulls, huge orc skulls, rare elven skulls, and even dragon skulls. All the skulls were intertwined together, forming a terrifying and sinister throne. Right now, Yi Hua had already shed off his physical body and revealed his most primitive state. However, very quickly, a set of 7-colored divine light armor materialized on his body. The surrounding darkness was lit up by the divine light. Multicolored light lingered around the darkness, raging flames surged and rolled, and waves of overflowing aura seemed as if it was going to devour the entire world. Meanwhile, the palace that was illuminated by the rainbow divine light also revealed its original appearance. This was Yi Hua's former meeting hall. The long passageway was so dark that the end couldn't be seen. The floor was covered with a bright red carpet made from the bodies of young crystal dragons. This long tunnel had basically slaughtered the entire crystal dragon race. As for the huge pillar, it was the body of the ancient anaconda that had been placed there after it had been petrified. As for those innumerable pillars, it was unknown how many ancient giant pythons had died. The entire palace was built with all kinds of strange corpses. It exuded a cold and gloomy aura. If a normal person came here, they would definitely be scared to death. Because even if these divine beasts were dead, their power still remained. Yi Hua was sitting on the throne of skeletons, and his index finger was tapping on the skull of an elf. If he did not remember wrongly, this skull was the skull of an elf queen. Wei Chang. Ligu. Absolute heaven. Yizizi. Yi Hua shouted gravely. Hearing that His Honor had summoned them with a different tone, the 7 deadly sins did not dare to be negligent in the slightest, and all of them rushed over. This time, His Honor was no longer cleaning the toilet in the bar. Instead, his honor had returned to the royal palace. This caused the hearts of his honor's 4 subordinates to sink. This time, his honor is truly angry. Subordinates pay respect to your honor. The 7 deadly sins did not dare to be careless in the slightest as they respectfully greeted Yi Hua, who was seated on the throne. The evil aura that was being emitted out from Yi Hua's body unconsciously. Even though it was a god beast that had already died, Yi Hua still seemed to be afraid of Yi Hua. Your honor, please quell your anger. The 4 men hurriedly kneeled onto the ground. For his honor to be angry, it is definitely our fault. Yi Hua slowly said, I had thought that I would be able to enjoy my life for a few days, but it seems like it was still an extravagant hope. The 4 men remained silent. After a long while, Wei Chang said coldly, Shao family has to take full responsibility for this matter. If your honor allows it, subordinate will go and exterminate the entire Shao family right now and offer their heads to your honor. Yi Hua looked at Wei Chang, then said gravely, No. This time, my target is not Shao family, but Voidless Realm. The 7 deadly sins were startled, not understanding what his honor meant. Your honor, Madame Donghuang is the Empress of Voidless Realm, and your honor's target is Voidless Realm? Zhu Tian still didn't know what was going on, and he was still puzzled. Lai Gu and Yi Zizi didn't say anything, fearing that they would say something wrong. Yi Hua snorted coldly. Zhu Tian immediately bowed down to express his apology. The 2 madams still don't know how deep the water in this world is. If that's the case, I will give them a good lesson. Yi Hua's tone was just like a cold spring from hell, causing one's hair to stand on end. Originally, I planned to let the North and South fight against each other, but after the South suffered disastrous losses, I have a new plan. The eyes of the 4 men lit up, especially Yi Zizi. Yi Hua said coldly, I want all of the powers in the North to attack Voidless Realm willingly. Lai Gu hurriedly said, Your honor, are we going to show off our acting skills on stage again? This time, we will not move. The 4 men were immediately stupefied, not knowing what his honor was trying to do. I want to let them know a principle, no matter how good they are to anyone, for their own benefit. Benevolence is nothing. Zhu Tian understood what his honor meant. The 2 madams are definitely kind-hearted, and they angered his honor. Thus, his honor wants to teach the 2 madams a lesson and let them understand the truth of blood. Your honor, leave this matter to subordinate. Zhu Tian bowed down and said. He was willing to be the leader this time. With Zhu Tian being the leader, Yi Hua was rather at ease. Zhu Tian, go ahead and do it, let them know what cruelty is. What betrayal is. What the human heart is. Subordinate understands. Zhu Tian decided that this time, he will definitely do it beautifully and make his honor satisfied. Yi Hua said faintly, Let's start with Shao family. I want Qinya to take the initiative to kill everyone in Shao family. Also, go and investigate the case of Dongfang family from 100 years ago. I want to see how many people they can protect. This time, Yi Hua was being serious. Women cannot be spoiled too much. If I spoil them too much, they will go to heaven. This time, Yi Hua's intention was very simple, but it was very difficult to carry it out. For example, if I want Qinya to take the initiative to slaughter Shao family, I will need a reason. This time, not only was this a lesson for the 2 wives, it was also a test for Yi Hua himself. Subordinate will obey your honor's command. Yi Hua slowly stood up, then warned, Don't treat them as your madams. Just do what you need to do. I will not allow them to throw a tantrum anymore. If they can't even pass such a small obstacle, they aren't worthy to be your madams. After finished speaking, Yi Hua disappeared from the throne. After Yi Hua left, the 4 men looked at each other. In the past, they were enemies, and this time, the enemies are indeed the 2 madams. Furthermore, to let the 2 madams have a taste of all kinds of things, the difficulty is not just a small one. I still have to go to school tomorrow. I will be going back to sleep. After speaking, Yi Zizi disappeared. Lai Gu let out a sigh. His honor is angry this time. That's right, this time, the difficulty is even greater than acting. Wei Chang sighed. Zhu Tian's expression didn't have much fluctuation as he said indifferently, "His Honor's way of doing things is correct. The two madams' benevolence is the same as being cruel to themselves. After all, we don't need merciful madams." Chapter 347. Wei Chang and Lai Gu nodded their heads, expressing that they agreed with Wei Chang's viewpoint. "All right, you two have a nice chat. I'll go back and be a warrior on the bed. Let me know if you make any big moves." After speaking, Lai Gu also disappeared from the palace hall. It feels so good to return to this familiar place. This smell of blood is really addicting, causing me to feel restless. Only Wei Chang and Absolute Heaven remained in the empty hall. "Let me know if you need any manpower." Lai Gu was very generous. Recently, the demons and ghosts in Long and City were more or less cleared out by his underlings, and the two of them were extremely bored. Absolute Heaven did not stand on ceremony. "All right. Your Honor's mission this time around is rather difficult. You have to pay attention to it." Wei Chang couldn't help but remind Yihua. Absolute Heaven also knew how difficult this matter was. "Relax, have you all forgotten what I used to do?" Wei Chang laughed lightly. Thinking about it, Absolute Heaven had brought despair to mankind in the past. Only, this time, his target had changed to the two madams. This time, his honor is truly heartless. I hope that the two madams will be able to hold on. "All right, I'll be leaving first. I still have lessons to teach tomorrow," Zhu Tian said indifferently. Lai Gu teased, "There should be a lot of beauties in Zijin University, aren't you going to consider?" "I'm not interested in women." After finished speaking, Zhu Tian left. This cold and detached temperament of his was even deeper than Yihua's. He was truly a cold and aloof Prince Charming. Wei Chang smiled. "In the past, I wasn't interested in women, but after coming into contact with Tang Wei, I changed my mind." Right now, Yihua was standing beside the window and smoking a cigarette. Looking at the night sky of Long and City, his gaze was emitting out coldness. "Brother-in-law?" Qing Yutong knocked on the door and called out lightly. Yihua silently took a look at his sister-in-law, then turned his gaze towards the night sky. Qing Yutong pursed her lips, seemingly feeling that her brother-in-law had returned to his original state. During this period of time, brother-in-law had finally changed a little. He would even smile from time to time. It would probably be hard to see brother-in-law smile in the future. "Brother-in-law, why don't you tell my sister and Bai Ji about your identity? They will understand." Qing Yutong naturally didn't want to see her big sister and brother-in-law fall out. After all, they were all a family. What was there to quarrel about? Even if there was a disagreement, wouldn't it be fine as long as everyone took a step back? Yihua said coldly, "Identity? Why not tell them? If I were to bring the two of them out, it would simply be a disgrace." "Aren't you affected by your bloodline?" "The influence of my bloodline? Even if she doesn't have this bloodline, she's still the same. She's soft-hearted." Yihua flicked away the cigarette that was in his hand, then sat down on the sofa. Coldness filled the space between Yihua's brows. "This time I will not let them off." Qing Yutong sat at Yihua's side and said attentively, "In the past, Big Sister has never come into contact with these things, and I only know how to do business. Only after following brother-in-law did I come to know of some things. There has to be a process, right? I'm giving them the process right now. It will be a very unforgettable process." Qing Yutong also didn't want her big sister to suffer a lot of pain. Thus Qing Yutong pulled onto her brother-in-law's arm and said coquettishly, "Brother-in-law, big sister still loves you. You have to be magnanimous. Just punish her a little and it will be fine." Turning his head around, Yihua looked at his sister-in-law and said gravely, "Do you also want to experience the process?" "Oh, I forgot to turn off my computer. Brother-in-law, you should rest early and pretend that I didn't say anything." After finished speaking, Qing Yutong slipped away. "Big sister, don't blame this little sister. This little sister has already pleaded for leniency for you, just that this time, you really angered brother-in-law." However, Qing Yutong also knew that brother-in-law wouldn't hurt big sister too much. He just wanted big sister to understand some principles, that's all. Although it was a bit cruel, it was still beneficial to big sister. If Qingye was half as sensible as his little sister, Yihua wouldn't be so troubled. Looking at his sister-in-law leaving, Yihua leaned on the sofa and pondered. I have to let Qingye and Baiji understand that their benevolence will only be used by their enemies. Wei Chang. Yihua called out gravely. Very quickly, Wei Chang's figure appeared in the office. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Release the control over Xiao family. Although Wei Chang was puzzled, he didn't dare to ask too much. Understood, subordinate will go and pass on the message right away. After Wei Chang left, Yihua lit up another cigarette, and his black pupils became deep. Xiao family is making use of your kindness. Then take a look at Xiao family's true colors. During these few days, Xiao Yi didn't sleep well, fearing that something would happen. Sitting in the pavilion in the courtyard, Xiao Yi was wearing high-end silk pajamas and drinking tea. Brother Xiao, you're not asleep yet? Shu Nen leisurely walked over and stood behind Xiao Yi, massaging her husband. Xiao Yi sighed. Is doing this right or wrong? Brother Xiao, things have already come to this. Why are you still thinking about right and wrong? Shu Nen said gently. One must know that Yihua felt that Xiao family was somewhat useful, and thus, Yihua decided to make use of Xiao family. This meant that Xiao family had obtained Yihua's protection. To be able to obtain the protection of a supreme being was such a great honor. Unfortunately, the Xiao family did not want to be a notch lower than others or be controlled by others. The consequences of such a decision were very serious. Just as the two of them were discussing this matter, the void twisted. Xiao Yi and Shu Nan's faces sank and they quickly stood up. A lump of black fog appeared in front of the two people's eyes. Wei Chang wished that he could directly behead these two people. Back then, they ran over to his honor and begged for his life, and right now, they are stabbing his honor in the back. Shu Nen pulled her husband and Xiao Yi helplessly knelt on the ground. I came here today just to pass on a message. In the future, I won't care about Xiao family's matters anymore. You two better take care of yourselves. Hearing what Wei Chang said, Xiao Yi and Shu Nan were immediately astonished. It's really effective. Could it be that this lump of black fog is Qingye's husband? That leisure bar's boss? Is he just not willing to reveal his true identity? You two are thinking too much. Yihua disdains to come here and say such things. However, since Wei Chang had already achieved his goal, Xiao Yi said gravely, "Thank you." Wei Chang spread out his palm, and Xiao Yi felt that there was a strange movement within his body. A trace of black fog could be seen coming out from Xiao Yi's body, and the black fog immediately fused with the black fog. After doing all that, Wei Chang left. What his honor can bestow upon you, he can also take back. Xiao Yi's face was pale and powerless, and his breathing was even more hurried. Just now, when that trace of black fog came out from his body, I felt that it took away a lot of my strength. Right now, I have returned back to my original strength. Brother Xiao. Shu Nen held on to her husband. Xiao Yi said weakly, "This is good as well, at least I won't be restricted by others." Shu Nen didn't say anything, but he felt that the Xiao family had done a foolish thing. They were strong, but they didn't rely on them. Instead, they wanted to leave. In Voidless Realm, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were sitting in Ali's courtyard. The two of them had a look of hidden bitterness on their faces, just like a wife who ran away from home, and yet, her husband actually didn't chase after her. The two of them were indeed a bit arrogant. They thought that Yihua cared about them a lot, that he would spoil them a lot, and that he would change for them. Furthermore, they believed that after they came out from the Voidless Realm, Yihua would come and pick them up very soon. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji had already thought of what to say to Yihua, but it was a pity that after waiting for 2 hours, Yihua still didn't come. "Mommy, when are we going home?" Donghuang Li, who was playing at the side, ran over while sweating profusely and asked. Donghuang Baiji smiled tenderly, "Soon, Daddy will come and pick us up." Chapter 348. Sigh. Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh, then said, "Qingye, are we being too impulsive?" Qingye was very confused. "Before I left, I already told Yihua to come and find me, and I will definitely go back, but it has already been so long, and he still hasn't come back. Let's wait a while more. Yihua can't let go of his face. Another 2 hours passed by, and it was already midnight. Dong Huangli was already sleeping in her mother's embrace. Meanwhile, Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji were still waiting foolishly. Qinya, you understand Yihua a bit, why isn't he coming yet? Dong Huang Baiji asked. When I found out that my subordinate was killed by Yihua's subordinate, I was furious, and Yihua didn't apologize to me at all. Now that I think about it, I am also in the wrong. Who asked me to send the betrothal gift out of anger? If the betrothal gift really arrived, wouldn't I be finished? That was why Dong Huang Baiji felt depressed. If Yihua didn't come and find me, I wouldn't be able to get out of this embarrassing situation. Qinya sighed lightly. Yihua is really angry this time. Then what should we do? Dong Huang Baiji cried out in surprise. Based on my understanding of Yihua, he is definitely thinking of a way to let us go back by ourselves. Qinya understood Yihua's personality, and she guessed correctly. Dong Huang Baiji pouted her mouth. I won't go back unless he comes and picks me up. He is also sure that we won't go back by ourselves, and he will definitely think of a way. Qinya laughed bitterly. We are both your wives, can't you even coax us? Think of what way? Qinya said, do you know why Shao family suddenly withdrew from the aristocratic family selection? That was arranged by Yihua. Dong Huang Baiji was startled. Why would Yihua interfere in Shao family's matter? I also don't know what he is playing at. Qinya let out a breath and stood up. Oh right, I just remembered. That morning, Yihua even asked me to approve Tang family's selection. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly recalled what happened that morning. This made Qinya recall the auction that night. Was it Yihua who asked you to approve Tang family's selection? That's right. That morning Yihua had said it to me. I felt that it was just a small matter, so I went along with what he said. Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows, feeling that Yihua was secretly planning something. Not only did the Shao clan withdraw, but they also arranged for the Tang clan to intervene. The two women were confused. Qinya, Yihua couldn't be setting up a trap, right? Dong Huang Baiji asked gravely. However, there has to be a reason for all of this, right? You are the empress, and furthermore, you are his wife, and you are the one who is in charge of the entire north. There is no need for him to do all of this. Qinya was completely clueless about what Yihua was trying to do. Dong Huang Baiji guessed. Yihua likes to stay at home, and he doesn't seem to be someone who is obsessed with power. However, why would he interfere in this aristocratic family's election? In the past, that subordinate of Yihua had also interfered with the South's matters, and it was precisely the fight over the ancient godly item. On that day, I was camping with Yihua. Now that I think about it, it seems like Yihua had an ulterior motive. The more Qinya thought about it, the more she felt that it was strange. Qinya, you are saying that not only did Yihua interfere with the North, he also interfered with the South? Then, are the recent events that happened in the South related to Yihua? Dong Huang Baiji didn't dare to believe it. The more she continued to speculate, the more she felt that Yihua was a mystery. Qinya shook her head. I don't know. Then what if it is true? Dong Huang Baiji's hypothesis caused Qinya to be a bit confused. After a long while, Qinya said gravely, if it was really done by Yihua, I will slowly change him, and I will not leave him. What about you? Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly. Ali is already so big, and it wasn't easy for me to find my daddy. I will naturally not leave him either. The two women looked at each other and smiled. For them, Yihua was even willing to give up his life, and they would naturally not leave him either. Husbands have to be slowly taught. Yihua expressed that he wouldn't take the blame. However, Zhu Tian was, after all, Yihua's subordinate, and it was impossible for him to not take the blame for those family extermination massacres. Then, how are we going to change Yihua's personality? At the very least, we have to get rid of those crooked principles. Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously. I reckon that Yihua wants to prove those crooked principles, and that's why he will start with those families. What we have to do is to let Yihua know that this world isn't like what he thinks it is. Although there are bad people in this world, Most of them are still good people. Dong Huang Baiji's eyes shone. Qinya, are you saying that the two of us should join hands to deal with Yi Hua? Qinya smiled. Aren't you very excited? A bit. What if we lose? If we lose, we will obediently go home and beg for forgiveness. If we win, Yi Hua will become an obedient baby in the future. Dong Huang Baiji smiled sweetly and immediately became incomparably beautiful. I like to see Yi Hua become an obedient baby. I like it too. The two wives were like-minded, and they were prepared to turn a demon king into an obedient baby. One couldn't help but admire their courage. Furthermore, their thinking was too simple. Qinya, who only knew how to fight in a business war, and the Empress who had never been through any big storms, how could they possibly be Yi Hua's opponent? After all, Yi Hua was someone who had been through hundreds of battles, a man who had rolled around in piles of corpses. This was a contest between husband and wife, and the entire north was the chessboard. Looking at the current situation, Dong Huang Baiji had the upper hand. After all, she was the Empress of Voidless Realm, and if Yi Hua wanted to get involved, he would have to start from his family. Dong Huang Baiji would be able to obtain the information in time, and then take action. And according to Dong Huang Baiji's guess, Yi Hua was preparing to start from Tang family. If Yi Hua were to know of Dong Huang Baiji's guess, he would definitely shout out loud at Dong Huang Baiji. How could I be so obvious? Even if I were to sit at home and not do anything, I would still be able to teach the two of you a lesson. On this night, Yi Hua was destined to hug his quilt and sleep. If I had known that this would be the case, I would have slept with Dong Huang Baiji and let her know how formidable I am. If you two have the ability, don't come back. This time, I will definitely let them see how formidable I am. After that, obediently admit their wrongs and serve me well, and maybe I will let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will not let you two have a good time. Zijin City was the center of China, and Zijin University had a very long history. Zijin University was also very famous in the world. Zijin University was a university that all students yearned to attend, and Zijin University attracted a lot of international students. In the morning, the campus was filled with the fragrance of fresh flowers, and the green grass was like a cushion. Everywhere was filled with the fragrance of flowers, and one after another, modern school buildings rose from the ground. Youthful and energetic university students were walking on the tree-shaded path with a happy smile on their faces. This kind of carefree university life would end after they graduate, and at that time, despair would begin. Quick, quick, look over there, beauties. A freshman shouted out while pointing at two girls that were not far away from them. Chapter 349. Why does that girl look so weak? I really want to go and protect her. The freshman sighed. This was the first time he had seen such a girl, and he couldn't help but feel sorry for her. There are many people who want to protect her. You are not the only one. The senior said disdainfully. Not only these two were whispering, but other students were also discussing. This girl had a natural desire to be protected, and they couldn't bear to see her get hurt. This person was Dongfang Yu, and next to her was her best friend, Song Xiaoxiao. Compared to Dongfang Yu, Song Xiaoxiao wasn't so outstanding, but beside a beauty, there would always be green leaves. It wasn't that Song Xiaoxiao wasn't beautiful, but she was inferior. Of course, the relationship between the two was very good, like sisters. Our school hired a super cold professor. Song Xiaoxiao held Dongfang Yu's arm and laughed exaggeratedly, even gesturing with her hands. Dongfang Yu was thinking about things and didn't hear what Song Xiaoxiao said. It's the open class of the Cold Prince Charming. Let's go early and get a seat. I heard that the class of the Cold Prince Charming is full of women. Song Xiaoxiao's face was full of infatuation. These days she went late and didn't even get a seat. She could only see the elegant demeanor of the Prince Charming on the school forum. So cold, so cool, Dongfang Yu still didn't respond, looking very heavy. What are you thinking about? Song Xiaoxiao shook Dongfang Yu and said. Dong came back to her senses and smiled. Oh, nothing. Why did you become stupid after the summer vacation? I'll take you to see handsome men. I heard that looking at handsome men can stimulate brain cells and achieve the goal of longevity. Dongfang Yu said softly, I'm not going, you go. This summer vacation was a nightmare for Dongfang Yu. She was sold by her mother to the Bai family and was even insulted by Bai Qi. Only by returning to this school could she feel a little safer. Listening to Dongfang Yu's tone, Song Xiaoxiao was depressed. She had a loud voice and Dongfang Yu's voice was very low and soft. Even if they were quarreling, she would use such a tone. But it was this that would arouse the desire of men to protect her. Come with me. I'm afraid I'll look ugly if I go alone, Song Xiaoxiao pleaded. She seemed to be saying that if he didn't come with her, she would cry. Looking at her friend's pleading, Dongfang Yu couldn't bear to refuse. She was such a girl. Even if she was hurt, she didn't want to see others get hurt. Her mother sold her to the Bai family, but she didn't say anything. All right. Dongfang Yu chuckled. That's great. Let's run. Otherwise, we won't be able to get a seat. With that, Song Xiaoxiao pulled Dongfang Yu and ran. Immediately, the boys drooled as they watched. This beautiful lady was really exciting when she ran. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and it made people's hearts skip a beat. Especially that thing that was moving up and down. I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. Litli, slow down. Dongfang Yuan's face turned red after jogging for a while. Her weak body couldn't keep up. They didn't stop until they reached the classroom door. Fortunately, we ran fast, or else there wouldn't be any seats left. Song Xiaoxiao patted her chest, while Dongfang Yu had a helpless expression. Dongfang Yu was not interested in handsome guys, and only studying could make her forget many things. The spacious classroom's occupancy rate had reached 70%, and there was still half an hour before the class started. Just as the two were about to sit down, a gorgeous girl frowned and shouted, There's someone here. Song Xiaoxiao wasn't like Dongfang Yu. There's no one here. You're clearly taking up a seat. That's right. I'm taking up a seat. What can you do? Dongfang Yu pulled Song Xiaoxiao and said softly, Let's sit at the side. Song Xiaoxiao glared at the girl and sat at the side with Dongfang Yu. The seat just now was in the middle, and the view was very good. Suddenly, the sound of high heels rang out. Everyone couldn't help but look back. It turned out to be the campus belle, Guan Yanxin. This woman had the height of a model. She had fair skin and a hot figure. She wore a tight red dress that seemed to be specially worn. Her arrogance was like that of an empress. Some of the freshmen were whispering. I heard that this Guan Yanxin's background is very deep. I heard it when I first came to school. It said that those who provoked her all dropped out. Lower your voice, don't let others hear you. If not, you won't have a good ending. Guan Yanxin could be seen sitting at the seat just now, and the beautiful girl beside her seemed to be her attendant. TSK, what are you being arrogant for? Song Xiaoxiao pouted her mouth. Dongfang Yu said softly, All right, don't be angry anymore. Song Xiaoxiao could only sulk. From this angle, she could only see her Adonis's side view. Tens of minutes later, the aloof Adonis finally arrived. Zhu Tian could be seen wearing a pure white suit. His handsome hairstyle matched with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. Adding on the ice-cold aura that was being emitted from his entire body, it caused the students to go crazy. Walking into the classroom, Zhu Tian coldly swept his gaze across the classroom. As expected, all of the students are females. Why didn't I realize that I have such a lure in the past? When the students saw that Zhu Tian had arrived, everyone in the classroom gasped, as if they were about to orgasm. As for Zhu Tian, he didn't feel the slightest bit of emotion as he slowly walked towards the rostrum. Not only did the girls not feel disgusted by his actions, they instead adored him even more. While looking at the group of girls, Zhu Tian didn't want to talk nonsense. After all, he had been very busy recently, and he had to make a series of plans for his honors mission. Do you know what you all came here to learn today? Zhu Tian placed his hands behind his back and asked. This action of his caused the girls to become dumbfounded. Song Xiaoxiao raised both of her fists and said infatuatedly, "So handsome, so handsome." Dong Fangyu remained unmoved. She only wanted to listen to the content of the lecture. Guan Yanxin appeared calm, but her gaze carried a strong sense of dominance, as if she wanted to train this man into a kitten. The fangirls that were present were all stupefied. How could they hear anything else? "You speak." Zhu Tian pointed at Guan Yanxin and said. Guan Yanxin slowly stood up. Her graceful posture showed that she had a good upbringing. "I came to see you, Professor." Guan Yanxin was very daring and directly started flirting with Zhu Tian. The fangirls all had a look of disdain on their faces. "Shameless, you actually dare to seduce our aloof Adonis." Zhu Tian took a look at Guan Yanxin, then indicated for her to sit down. Afterward, he pointed at Dong Fangyu and asked, "What are you doing here?" Even though he was clearly asking Dong Fangyu, Song Xiaoxiao, who was at the side, was extremely excited. Dong Fangyu stood up and said tenderly, "I am here to listen to a lecture." Everyone in the classroom sighed. "Even a beauty like Guan Yanxin came here for the professor, yet you said that you are here to listen to a lecture. Are you even a woman?" Chapter 350. Zhu Tian nodded. The latter slowly sat down, not feeling that Zhu Tian was handsome at all. "What is hypnosis in your eyes?" Zhu Tian asked indifferently. A girl shouted, "Professor, I'm willing to be hypnotized by you and then do illegal things to me." TSK. This was even more daring. The audience sighed. This shamelessness had reached a certain level. Zhu Tian was not angry and said indifferently, "Hypnosis is a science. For example, you were all hypnotized by me, but you didn't know it." Zhu Tian had learned very quickly these few days. He immediately stirred up the atmosphere and changed the topic of looking at handsome guys to hypnosis. Of course, the fans did not believe it. Zhu Tian looked at Guan Yanxin and said indifferently, "Do you believe it?" Guan Yanxin shook her head. Zhu Tian then looked at Dong Fangyu. What about you?" Dong Fangyu shook her head. "The two of you come on stage." Dong Fangyu and Guan Yanxin were puzzled, but they still stood up and went on stage. It was rare to see two school beauties going on stage at the same time. "Professor, are you trying to hypnotize me?" Guan Yanxin was quite open, while Dong Fangyu was much quieter. Zhu Tian did not look at Guan Yanxin, but looked at the students. "As I said, they have already been hypnotized by me, but they just don't know it." "Professor, don't just say no." "That's right, at least let us two school beauties perform." "How about a girl kiss?" "We'll believe it then." Zhu Tian ignored them and said to Dong Fangyu and Guan Yanxin, "Lift up your hair." The two campus belles flipped up their hair, and their expressions were normal. It couldn't be any more normal. "Professor Zhu, this is too fake." A middle-aged man walked toward the podium. He was also a hypnosis professor, but no one attended his class. Zhu Tian's class was full every day, so he wanted to teach him a lesson. Zhu Tian said indifferently, "Professor Liu, what can I do for you?" "I don't dare to teach, I just don't want to see the students being deceived." Professor Liu said loudly, as if he wanted to expose the fact that Zhu Tian was a liar. Zhu Tian did not care and said indifferently, "How do you want to prove that I am a liar?" "Naturally, by hypnosis." Professor Liu was full of confidence. "Sure." Seeing that Zhu Tian had agreed, Professor Liu looked at the two campus belles. They were really beautiful. This Professor Zhu really knew how to play. He didn't call others campus belles and only called them campus belles. If they were hypnotized, he would be able to touch them a few times. Wouldn't that be great? "They've already been hypnotized by me. You should find them from outside the classroom." Professor Liu was amused by this sentence. This is the reaction after being hypnotized? You should go lie to elementary school students. "Come here." Zhu Tian crooked his finger at the two school beauties. Dong Fangyuan and Guan Yanxin walked behind Zhu Tian, and Zhu Tian said indifferently, "Help me massage my back." Sure enough, the two campus belles began to massage his back. "All right, stand over there again." Throughout the entire process, the two campus belles didn't have any unusual reactions. It couldn't be more normal. Oh, how much did you pay him? Professor Lu did not believe in such hypnosis. Since you don't believe me, you can try. I'll give it a try. With that said, Professor Lu walked up to the stage, took out a pocket watch, and asked the two campus bells to lie down. Relax. Relax your body and close your eyes. Zhu Tian said indifferently, he's taking advantage of you too. Just as he finished speaking, the two campus bells opened their eyes and called out, Papa. Old pervert. Smelly pervert. With that said, the two campus bells ran down the stage, and the fangirls pointed at Professor Lu and scolded him. Report him. He actually used hypnosis to take advantage of students. That's right, I saw this old pervert groping the campus bells. Professor Lu was dumbfounded. He had only said one sentence just now. He didn't do anything at all. Professor Lu, I already said that they were all hypnotized by me. Zhu Tian coldly stared at the old man in front of him. If it was in the past, he would have killed him long ago. You! Just you wait. With that said, Professor Lu ran away. From now on, he would be labeled as an old pervert. Guan Yanxin said to Zhu Tian, Professor Zhu, you entered my body just now, you have to take responsibility. When this was said, a commotion immediately broke out. Song Xiaoxiao said softly, if that's the case, Professor Zhu also entered your body just now. Of course not. Dong Fengyu said with a red face. I really envy you girls who have your bodies entered by Professor Zhu. I also want to have my body entered. The class quickly ended with Zhu Tian's explanation. Dong Fengyu pulled Song Xiaoxiao, who was reluctant to leave, and left. As for Guan Yanxin, she walked towards Zhu Tian and said tenderly, Professor Zhu, are you free tonight? I'm not free. Guan Yanxin blocked Zhu Tian's path and said tenderly, Professor Zhu, you have already entered my body just now, how can you be so ruthless? Moreover, there is a banquet tonight, I want you to be my male companion. Guan Yanxin said tenderly, that tone of hers was filled with endless temptation. Zhu Tian asked, Family gathering? Seems like Professor Zhu is also an insider. Guan Yanxin was startled for a moment, then she smiled and said, All right, come and pick me up tonight. With that, Zhu Tian left. Looking at Zhu Tian's indifferent aura, Guan Yanxin licked her red lips. She liked this kind of indifferent man, only conquering him would give her a thrill. Zhu Tian was currently staying in the teacher's dormitory. After returning, he would report this news to the higher-ups. Yi Hua only had one request, and that was to not let them get hold of any information that could be used against him. Even if they knew that he was playing tricks on them, they wouldn't have any evidence to prove it. Zhu Tian expressed that he understood. At night, a red Ferrari stopped outside of the school. Zhu Tian, who was still wearing a white suit, opened the car door and sat inside. The person who was driving the car was precisely Guan Yanxin. A woman who was in the middle of puberty looked especially alluring, every inch of her skin was emitting out a fragrance. However, Zhu Tian was not moved at all. If it wasn't for him needing a logical identity, he wouldn't even be bothered to sit here. Professor Zhu, you are so handsome. Guan Yanxin was wearing a V-neck gown, her deep cleavage was breathtaking. Zhu Tian said faintly, Let's go. I like men like you. Guan Yanxin teased, then stepped on the accelerator. The engine roared, and the sound of the engine resounded throughout the street. International Hotel was Zijin City's iconic building. It was formed by two buildings alternating, forming a triangular shape. The design concept of the hotel was rather innovative. After arriving at the entrance of the hotel, a manager ran over and shouted, Miss Guan. Park the car. Guan Yanxin threw the car key into the manager's embrace, and the manager caught the car key hurriedly and almost dropped it onto the ground. Zhu Tian got off the car and rubbed his eyes. This Guan Yanxin doesn't seem to be that simple. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.